Hey, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Friday Wrap-Up. I'm Town Media Director Steve Brogan, and this is Tyngsborough TV Live's edition of the Friday Wrap-Up. It's finally Friday. Thankfully, this has been a heck of a week. Probably the same for most of you out there. Lots of interesting stuff going on this week. So we're going to have some interesting conversations. We're going to do an extended program today because we have some special guests coming in later on in the day at 12:30. So we've got some interesting recycling discussion. Unfortunately, our guest that was supposed to be here, and I apologize for this to you guys for this. I've been promoting that George the therapy dog was going to be here today, and unfortunately, George the therapy dog cannot be with us due to unforeseen circumstances. He had an extended stay at the groomers. So. Oh, wait, there we go. There you go. Sorry, Rayson.
It's all good.
There we go. So he's going to be on in the future. I don't know an exact date just yet. We were talking about when and how we were going to coordinate that. But yes, we will have him on in the near future. I do have a picture I want to show you guys. Let's see if I can actually get to this. Let me see if I can switch out the Apple TV. There we go. I'm going to show you a picture. So he has come by for a visit to prove that he is a real dog.
And he's just as adorable in person.
He's just like ridiculous. I mean, not even fair how adorable. Oh, sorry, I'm going to show you some pictures here. Hang on a sec. Let me get my phone doing some normal stuff. So this is George. Here you go. In all his viciousness. Absolutely the cutest thing in the world. He's very cute. I was hanging out with him for a few minutes. We were petting him and ogling and like just loving on him because he's just super cute. He really is a cute dog. Look at this guy. It's awesome. Hearing some very, very positive stories from his how he is at the schools. And I mean, look at that face. Come on. Look at that face. He's just the happiest thing in the whole wide world. So that's George. He will be on. I promise you. He will be on soon. All right. Without further ado, I just want to quickly mention before I move on too far. Don't forget, you can watch this broadcast many different places. So Facebook, YouTube, tyngsboroughma.gov, and on our live video on demand and streaming service, and at Comcast 8 and Verizon 29 here in the town of Tyngsborough. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to chime in, ask questions, comment, join in on the discussion of the show. We got some pretty interesting stuff coming up. As I mentioned, later today we're going to have Liz Antovica, Liz Antovica is going to come on at 11:30 and talk about the new sustainability committee, which is kind of recycling / sustainability in town of reduce, reuse, recycle, that kind of stuff, that sort of mantra. But we're going to talk more in depth about that. And then at 12:30, I've got Julia Green from the DEP, and is also part of the team that created the recyclesmartma.org website, which we should pull up on the computer too so we can show that at some point later today. So she was part of that team. They watched our broadcast that we did a couple weeks back with Donna McPartlin, and they were able to glean some very interesting information in the issues we had with stuff as far as what worked and what didn't work in terms of the search and stuff. So they were able to get some really good info out of that show, and she's going to come back on and talk more about Recycle Smart. And we'll work on some other tweaks and stuff with her. We'll try to help her, and hopefully you guys can join and help with that because nothing's perfect, and sometimes things take working out the kinks and tweaking and so on and so forth to get things working properly. So she's going to be on at 12:30 along with Donna McPartlin from the Board of Health, and we're going to talk again more about the recyclesmartma.org website. Awesome website, great for and by the way, Raysom, you'll have to reconnect the laptop to Apple TV. But yeah, we'll have lots of good conversation. We have some other funny stuff that we were going to talk about. So one of the things we're going to talk about is the block party that's coming up on August 25th. Huge, very excited to have this happen again. It was massive last year and probably will be even more massive this year. There's lots of work going on over on Winslow Road, right where that happened. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The work at Parish Meeting House, which is still ongoing. New development in the block party, which I'm very excited about, by the way, is that we're going to do an open mic night at the end of the block party. So the block party ends at 4 o'clock on Sunday. From 4 to 6, we're going to run an open mic at Old Town Hall. So in the midst of the beautiful day, we'll have the doors open, and we'll have more continuation of the event and the music and all that fun stuff, which is going to be really cool. So if you are a singer, songwriter, comedian, poet, whatever else you would do in front of an open mic, that is legal to be done. You could come out and be one of our performers. So it's going to be really cool. We're going to do some neat twists with it to make it more interesting, not only for the performers but also for the patrons who come by. And if there's any left, I'm told that Navigation will come in and serve whatever they have left from the beer garden in Old Town Hall. So very exciting stuff. It's going to be a really cool night. I'm very excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. And that's kind of a collaboration with myself and Sue Arthur from the library, as well as Allison from the rec department, Allison Page. So that's going to be exciting. So mark your calendars for August 25th, because that's going to be a fun day. And there's some great things to come in the next couple years after this year, once all the construction and all that noise is done with. It's going to be cool. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about, well, what else? Let's see. Oh, we've got an intern. James, wave hi. This is that is James Madison. He is we're going to call him intern. We're just going to call him intern. So James is interning, we'll say, from he's a Tyngsborough High School student, a junior, right, James?
Going to senior.
Going to senior. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So he's a junior going into senior year. He's trying to figure out what he wants to do with life. He thinks he likes media. We'll prove otherwise. No, I'm kidding. Right. No, you'll like it, I'm sure. But he's going to be sitting in with us on Fridays and hanging out and learning how this whole thing works. So that's going to be fun. If you have any questions, James, feel free to chime in and ask and or join in the conversation. I'm sure he'll have some interesting insight and things. What else are we talking about? We've got, what's training day?
Oh, it was a pun because we're going to be talking about lots and lots of trains.
Oh, okay, yeah. So here's an interesting factoid. What was it, in the last 8 weeks you said there was or the last 6 weeks there was 8 train derailments or something like that?
Yeah.
What was the fact?
I believe it said within the past 8 weeks or so. This is also combinations from WBUR,
okay,
CBS Boston, and also some articles that are shared via Twitter and things like that.
Okay.
That there has been, on the week of June 11th, which is basically this week, there has been 2 derailments in less than a week on the red and green line.
Right. So major issues if you're a T-rider. God, if you're a T-rider, you know about this already. I don't have to tell you.
Right.
But yeah, major problems with just the T's in general lately. The infrastructure, the maintenance of it, the expense to replace it all. What was it, $10 billion or some ridiculous number?
That was the estimate.
Yeah.
And there's also increasing fares starting July 1st by 6%.
Good time. So if you're a T-rider, get ready. And then there's the commuter rail on top of that. So not only do you have T issues, but the commuter rail can have problems too. So it's a system fraught with peril.
Oh, yes.
Lots of chance for peril on that system. I mean, it works clearly. It obviously does well. But how do you maintain an aging infrastructure of trains and stuff like that?
And then I have this article that says,
I'm glad I don't have to ride the train every day.
Last week, it says 10 people were hospitalized.
Oh my goodness!
After a train derailment near Fenway, and I'm actually going to pull up some of the images from Twitter that we found about some of the aftermath of one of those derailments.
Okay. So I was mad because I was expecting a shipment to come from Illinois, and I got this delayed thing that came over UPS, your package is delayed. I'm like, what the heck, man? Come on, get it here.
Right.
And finally, a while later, it says delayed due to train derailment. And I'm like, what's going on? So I started searching, and that's how I figured this out too.
Yeah.
There'd been all these train derailments within a week's time span, and there was one in Westford, there was one in I think it was Pennsylvania. There was a decent sized one. There was a couple other smaller ones, and then the I forget if it was the Red Line, not the most recent Red Line one, but I think there was another T issue a couple weeks back as well.
The Green Line too, or no?
It might have been. I don't remember it honestly. I read the article.
It's kind of weird because I feel like this kind of happened out of nowhere. I feel like there hasn't been a lot of them in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, there has been, but I feel like this all just happened at once. It's kind
it's
of weird.
true. Yeah.
It's a thing where from the articles or what I've gathered from that is that they're saying from 2012 to 2018, they have been increasing.
But why?
In frequency.
Is there?
It's an old system. It's there's so
Is
many
that
things fraught
Well, that's
with it.
a lot
that's
of
part
factors,
of the problem, yeah.
or just the fact that it's old? I don't know.
I mean, if you, just like
Very
anything, if
things.
you're using a roadway every day and cars are driving
Right.
over it,
Yeah.
they're going to cause deterioration of the surface, just like train tracks. I mean, they
Right.
start to spread and they have to replace the ties and all that stuff. If they don't
Yeah.
get to that in a timely
Yeah.
fashion, you get train
It
derailments.
just
But
happened
there's just
all at once.
right. But I mean, there's also the other thing too is there's thousands of miles of track.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how do you do that and make it cost effective? And obviously they have to jack
Right.
up rates to.
Right.
Yeah, and even let's look at some of these images though, and then after
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I want
Yeah,
to
let's
be
put
able to
the-
show what happened a couple of days ago and how many people were actually there waiting at that
Wow.
station.
I feel bad for whoever has to fix this one because that looks like
Yeah.
it was some type
That's-
of
yeah,
telephony
holy.
depot.
Mhm.
And there's this wire. I mean, you can see all the units at one of those pictures. You can see all the wires hanging and stuff.
Yeah, this one
oh,
right
I
here.
would not want to have
That's
to
messy.
fix that.
No.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the
Holy
telephone
crap.
company
Yeah.
guy.
Mhm.
That's what that looks like to me, anyways. It could be
Honestly.
something else, but
And then let me
mess.
also go down.
What's with the Power Rangers?
Oh yeah, no. This was funny. It was
Is it something to do with the train thing, or is it
yeah,
just
it's
somebody's?
just like the red line and the green line this week. Looking at each other.
That's awesome. I love it. That's awesome.
But even like look at this like screen grab from like how much like a lift costs in Boston, a shared lift, mind you.
$60, huh?
$60.
Wow.
Just get a taxi at that point.
Yeah, and then even this one
Blue Power Rangers.
by
That's awesome.
That was good.
Yeah.
Vicky on Twitter. She was basically like adding Marty Walsh from the Mass Government to be like, hey, red line, this is it at 4:03 p.m. You need to find a better solution.
No kidding.
Kindle. And hopefully it'll load up soon.
Oh yeah, it's not loading.
We'll try it one more time.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Maybe. Come on, technology.
Technology, man.
Well.
No,
All
like
right.
that
I'll
image
get there someday.
the image was taking the red line in, so that's why it's delayed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good one.
He did that.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. So before we get too far off the rails.
Oh.
We just
right?
keep on
We're just gonna keep coming with
singers.
these bad puns. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's see. So we did train derailment. Oh, and the graduation. I want to mention that this
Yes.
happened. Congratulations, by the way, to the class of 2019. Hopefully, you got to watch the broadcast. If you were a graduate, obviously, congratulations. If you were not a graduate, like I say, hopefully you did get to check out the broadcast that we did. If anybody wants copies, you can contact us at tyngsboroughma.gov, sbrogan at tyngsboroughma.gov, and I can get you a copy of the graduation. But it was awesome.
Yeah,
it was like the best. Everything worked. It's amazing. Like,
Hey.
all the
Minus that
technology.
one. Minus that one fidgety camera.
All right, so we had one
but-
fidgety camera,
Right.
but I'm
that
not,
was very minor.
in the grand
Yeah.
scheme
In
of
the
things,
grand-
it was
Right.
this big compared to like
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
else. So I was very excited about that. All the streams and broadcasts and all that fun stuff worked, which worked really well.
Yeah.
Um,
It looked good.
but yeah,
too.
it was a good graduation. Lots of good speeches.
Yeah.
Some were longer than others, but there were some good speeches, and yeah, it was always fun to watch the kids graduate. They had fun.
It's
and, you know,
exciting, yeah.
they did some cool stuff. So
They had nice weather too.
they did have
was a
nice
good
weather.
day.
Yep, we've got some plans for next year in terms of, at least I do anyways in my head, of some things I want to do to improve it, make it a little more interactive and fun to watch, I guess. But
it was fun when I was like standing in the center and all of them were dancing around
Right,
me.
yeah.
That was fun.
yeah, when the band's playing
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, Matt Eaton and his group of students, the Tyngsborough High School band, always phenomenal. They're awesome. He does a fantastic
Yeah.
job wrangling these kids and getting them to like play. Really, it's amazing what this guy does. Some cool stuff coming up with him, hopefully too. That I'm going to talk to. We've been talking about some recordings of the high school band playing some different stuff. So, so we're going to do something like that in the future. So that'll be cool. Trying to get a music component going on, as well as the open mic. So there's some of our other music. So, anyways, let's get to what time is it right now? It's 11:15.
It's 11:15.
So Liz should be here very soon. Let's talk quickly about the.
The weather?
Yeah, sure. Why not? We'll do the weather first.
Cool.
I'm afraid to show this though, because look at all the rain. It's
Yeah.
awful.
All next week.
All next week, just brutal. Get out today if you can. Really,
Yes.
seriously, I'm not kidding. Today and tomorrow looks like it's going to be phenomenal.
This is so
And
annoying.
It says
Like-
The rest of the
mostly
week-
sunny, chance of showers. However, on Saturday it's going to be mostly sunny.
So that's
High-
good.
high of
High of 82.
That's
I'll take that.
a
Enjoy
not
it while
bad
you
high
can, 'cause
temperature.
it's
That's that's a summertime temperature. That's good.
Yeah.
A cooler summertime temperature, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's been a kind
You
of
know?
a cool summer.
It's this stuff though. Look at this. Saturday night into Sunday.
Yep.
Right, 50% chance of rain, 40% chance Sunday night, 60% chance Monday, 60% chance
Ooh.
Monday night, Tuesday I mean, come on,
Yeah.
seriously.
I think it's wild the high of 80 that we're gonna get on Monday while it's raining. I hate hot rain.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate
It's
that.
like steamy.
It
and
feels so
Ooh.
gross.
Not steam in a good way.
no, not in a good. No, right, not in a
No.
good way. It's like
It's
that.
like muggy and like
Yeah.
humid.
It's
and
like that
gross.
kind of steam,
Yeah.
like you know how when you in the summertime you go to take a shower and you forget to turn the temperature of the water back down to like
Ooh, yep.
cooler, and the room fills up with like hot steam.
Yeah.
You go, and you're like, like it
What
just
is
feels
going on?
gross. and, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. That's to me,
Yeah.
anyways. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So I want to quickly just mention, if you probably know about this already, but there's been major road work going on all over town. The road work over on Westford Road, there we go, is supposed to be wrapping up soon. They're actually getting close to that point where they're going to be pulling, I believe Verizon in the next, if they haven't done it already, I haven't been over in a couple days, if they haven't done it already, but Verizon is supposed to be pulling out those poles so that they can do final paving, which is what basically is the last step in a process of doing a full road renovation, is the final paving, final coat. So those poles were just kind of the kicker, more or less, kind of holding up the end of that project. And for everybody who commented, everybody obviously knew there was just a scheduling thing. So there was a whole bunch of Facebook stuff going around. Everybody was complaining about the poles being left in the street and why would they do that, because it ruins the pavement and all this fun stuff. But there was a reason for it. Obviously, it was a scheduling thing. There's not really much that you can do when you've got Comcast, Verizon, electric company, and anybody else who has wires on those poles, which there's quite a few, the town included, has wires on those poles. There's not much you can do. You just have to wait for everybody to get their thing done. So those are supposed to be coming out. They're going to do final paving, and that project should be wrapping up and finishing, and you'll have a lot less traffic and a lot smoother roadway over there, which will be really nice. The other thing is over on Winslow Road, just across the street from the Old Town Hall. If you haven't driven by there recently, that's all torn up. Winslow Road is closed right now. Obviously, you can't cut through there and do that whole thing. They're doing a massive renovation on that, and I don't have the picture, unfortunately. But it's going to be nice. They expanded, so they shrunk the roadway, because the roadway was like double wide. It was huge. They shrunk the roadway down to just wide enough for parking and for passing, or rather driving, by the parked cars. And then in that, was able to expand the green space on the common and on the other side. So it's going to be much nicer when it comes to like the block party and other events that happen over there. It'll be a lot nicer to have a party over there and do stuff. You'll have a little more grass space and a smaller road, easier to control. Still place for the food trucks to go hang out and sell their food at the block party and all that stuff. So, and obviously during normal times, you'll still be able to use that as your right turn if you are a traveler coming from the north, coming south, and you take a right onto Kendall using that little shortcut. You'll be able to still do that. So that's pretty cool. That road is not going away. It's just being redone and repaved and restriped and everythinged. All those signs and, oh man, it was a mess over there with all those signs and stuff on that little island, and it was really goofy, the whole setup. But yeah, it's been redone very nicely, and it's going to be really cool for the block party. Probably not so much this year, because I think it might still be a little muddy maybe at that point. Maybe, I don't know, we'll see what kind of grass grows in at that point. But if it keeps raining this way, it'll be a jungle in no time.
Seriously.
But so it's going to be really cool. And then on top of that, the First Parish Meeting House. Again, if you've driven through the area, you've seen that there's tons of construction going on. At some point in the probably next week, I'm going to do a little walk over there just to show you guys kind of the progress and what's going on, so that people can kind of see that stuff is happening. There's a lot going on in the building. They've, other than the main church area, what do you call that? The sanctuary, I guess.
Oh, okay.
The main part of it where all the pews are and stuff, that part.
Yeah.
Other than that, they stripped everything else back and have been redoing all kinds of stuff. The basement's all been redone. It's going to be a really nice function facility. So for anybody who wants to get married in the future, have a wedding there, you'll have the First Parish for the ceremony, and then you could use the Old Town Hall for your reception. It's going to be really, really nicely done. It's a beautiful building inside and out, and it's just, with it being redone like this, it's going to bring it back to its full sort of luster and quality. So I think the town's going to really enjoy it. But yeah, I'll do a walkthrough next week, so you guys can check it out. We'll walk through the new driveway and all that fun stuff too. So check all those things out. So I just want to kind of get everybody up to speed on that stuff. That's been happening, obviously. And the cool thing is, we have the road work project on Winslow Road and the road work project over on Westford Road. Both of those cost the town this much money because they got grants for it. So free.
Woohoo!
That's pretty cool. I thought that's a nice little tidbit on there, because they cost the town nothing to do those projects. So, and it'll beautify and make the whole thing just that much better, the whole town center. So, and then we'll have the festivals and the block party and all that cool stuff, and we're just it's gonna be awesome. So, anyways, again, questions, leave them on Facebook if you guys have any. There's one about I don't know when the sewer project is starting, but it's soon. We're going to talk about that in the future, so I'm not going to delve too much into that because I don't know the details. I do know that they've gotten through all the approval processes, and they are, I believe, picking a contractor. I forget exactly where they are, but they're picking a contractor, I think, for the actual project, but I don't know the dates. And going next to Olive Garden on Middlesex Road, that is one of our 2 new marijuana shops at 420 Westford Road.
The irony.
Oh, yeah.
The irony. That's not Middlesex Road.
Wait, no, are you serious?
420 Middlesex Road.
Yeah, it's 420 Middlesex.
420
Yeah,
Middlesex
shut
Road. So,
Isn't it? They didn't wasn't it
All
like
right.
a thing where they didn't know exactly that it was going to be that address?
I don't know how deep we should go to this. All I'm going to say is somebody didn't realize what 420 meant in terms of the marijuana culture.
Oh, okay.
And it ended up being, and it just so happens that next door is 440
Right.
at the next big plaza. They somehow gave that 420, so it is 420. And funny enough, and we did talk about this last week actually, so we can funny enough too, the other marijuana shop, approved marijuana shop, is going right next door to the barbecue place called Smoky Bones.
Smoky Bones, yo, shout out to Smoky Bones though.
Their food's awesome.
Yeah,
The donuts.
stuff.
Oh my
god.
gosh.
Oh, you haven't had
those
the
are
donuts?
So
No.
good.
You
They're
have to
so
go.
good.
Why don't we go to a
come on.
barbecue place
We
for
all
the
like
donuts?
attack
I mean,
race
that's-
him.
right, that's a good
Now I
point.
need to know. No.
You
What's
have
what's
to.
up with these donuts though?
So these donuts are homemade.
Okay.
They bring them to you with two sauces. It's like a raspberry sauce, I
And
want
a
to say,
chocolate.
and a chocolate sauce. I think it's Nutella or something.
Oh, really?
I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I forget. I
I
usually
mean,
go
I'm
for the
allergic to
raspberry.
hazelnuts, and I've had it, so I mean.
But then maybe it's not. Yeah, maybe it is just chocolate.
Maybe
He's just living a dangerous life.
I don't know.
I'm not trying to promote Smoky Bones, but
Haven't
I'm just
had it
saying
in a while though.
they have
so.
donuts. Yeah,
Okay.
they're awesome. They're really good.
This is not sponsored content.
No, this is totally not sponsored content.
Yeah.
By the way, this show is brought to you by your favorite caffeinated beverage. Enjoy from wherever.
Right.
All right, so let's. What do we got? No, we've still got a few more minutes before
Yeah.
Liz gets here.
I mean,
What else were we talking about? So yeah, so that's
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of the update. What's
So
going
the
on?
other
and-
place is going next to Olive Garden, right? So it's next to
The
two
other one is-
major food places.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they were
Yes.
smart, Olive Garden and Smoky Bones, they'd have vents that blow the kitchen smell out into the parking lot.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? So that like when you're
Wow.
in the two wheat shops, one of the two, you can
Yeah.
That would
I'm
bring.
smell it
curi-
and
I'm
like, hey,
curious,
I'm
like,
hungry. Like,
Between like Italian and barbecue, like what that would marinate into a smell.
I'm sure it'd be delicious.
Okay.
I mean, Italian food's awesome. Barbecue's amazing. I think they would go well because barbecue's
Oh.
like sweet and Italian. Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Nah,
I'm
I'm not
thinking about,
feeling
like,
that.
How,
I don't think it would mix well.
how would I pair that? Like, if you were to have like brisket and like chicken parm on the side, like I could see maybe that, but like I don't know.
It might be an interesting combination.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll really come down to whoever has the bigger fans to blow their smell further.
Mm.
I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to. I'd go to Home Depot and get those like massive floor ones, you know, that like shoot it across.
Yeah. No, Olive Garden actually would have the high ground advantage.
I think they would actually.
I know they're like up on a hill there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking
That's
down
true.
at the rest of us.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a cool property up there, actually.
yeah.
It's a neat property. So lots of stuff going on around town.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know the depth of everything, obviously, but there has been a number of things going on around town. Town's been in the news for good and not so good things the last couple days. But we won't get into that. We're going to talk about the good stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna maybe talk about a baby born on a train.
Yeah, we can talk about a baby born on a train, but we don't want to get derailed. So I already
Right,
used
yeah,
that. I'm
that's
sorry.
right.
Boom, boom, wah, wah, bad one. Yeah, we already used that one.
When did that happen?
This happened. Well, the article was published 23 hours ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is
happened in,
recent.
yes,
Yeah.
this happened in Ireland,
Huh.
where there was a baby girl born on board of a train and offered free rail travel for the first 25 years of her life.
Holy crap.
Yes.
That's worth a lot of money right there.
No, it is.
You could really rack up some bill.
It absolutely, and the thing that's like, it's like one of those things where I find where the article kind of takes like this turn. And like, well, the baby was delivered by 2 nurses and a doctor who happened to be on board.
Just happen to be on board, and they probably just happen to be baby doctors too.
Yeah.
This sounds like
Yeah,
this
right.
sounds like a setup right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the old baby born on the train.
It's like they
We
knew
want to
that-
get this kid
Yeah.
25 years of free
Right,
service, so
right.
let's make
like
sure
they
he's born
knew
on the
they would
train.
get
No, we don't know what the train services are like in Ireland, but like we could assume that like, you know,
I just want to throw this
Go
out
ahead,
there.
go
So I wasn't born on a train, so I don't
Okay.
get free train service.
Yeah.
I was born in a hospital.
Free
do I
hospital stays?
do I get free hospital stays? I mean,
What
I
if you
feel
were
like,
born? What if you were born at a college? Free tuition?
See, but
I
there-
mean,
there
yeah,
are, there are
right. You know, I was born in a
stories.
supermarket. I should
on.
get free food for the next
Free
25
groceries
Yeah.
for the rest of
Yeah.
your life.
I've only ever seen this type of story applied to cabs, and people
Yeah,
are like, "Oh yeah,
taxis.
cabs, Ubers, yeah." Like it
Oh,
happened
the
before.
ambulance too. That's happened.
Yeah. But it's also another thing too, where like, what happens if a baby is born on like international waters? Like, where is their citizenship?
That's a good question.
There has been something
Well-
like that that's happened before. Actually, I
Like,
can't
what if-
remember the exact situation, but that's happened before.
What if the
Okay.
mother was like out on a cruise,
Like,
and was
it hap-
pregnant,
it
and
happened
like the
on a
baby came
plane.
early or some crazy thing? That
Sure.
happens. You
It
know?
did happen on a plane once. I can't remember the
Okay.
story, but there was a baby that was born on a plane. I don't
Hmm.
remember,
Huh.
but
On a
I've
plane?
heard of
Really?
it.
Wow.
I've heard of the
So-
story. I can't remember it
Hmm.
though. It's like
Huh.
in my unconscious memory right
Like,
now.
do you count as an immigrant? Probably not, but like, I don't know. You know,
Well, your
Go-
citizenship. I
Google-
think in
Google,
reality, I
like-
think your citizenship would fall with where your parents
Google
were
what-
from.
like, if you were
what
born
there
on
are,
a
like,
plane.
2 different.
Oh man, now you could get really
yeah.
complex with that. That's true. We
Yeah.
could totally go off
I
off
know.
on that one.
Like, what is maritime law? On, you know,
Well,
Yeah.
the captain,
know.
the captain on the ship can like do weddings and
really?
yeah, in maritime. I mean, to my understanding, anyways,
Yeah.
the captain of a ship can like when they're out at sea, can do weddings and all that stuff. So I mean, there's got to be some. He must be able to say like, all right, the kids, U.S. or German or I don't know. I have no idea.
Like,
I would just we're just guessing here.
Maybe
I have no
they
clue.
could be like a sorting hat or something. You know, and they're like, oh, you know, like oh,
we're gonna put 7 countries' names into a hat, and we're gonna pluck out the one that your kid's gonna be a citizen of.
Right.
So there you go. That's how they decide.
Talking about ships, do you guys like cruises, or are you guys like scared of cruises?
It's funny. I had this conversation yesterday with somebody else here at town hall.
Really?
All right, so I'll tell you my story, and then you guys can go off.
Okay.
I have no interest in jumping on a cruise ship.
Really?
None.
Yeah,
Zero. Way too many times have I seen stories about the entire ship gets violently ill from eating like something random.
Yeah.
And then everybody gets sick, or the ship gets stranded out at sea, and everybody's sick at the same. Like, it's just been so crazy the last bunch of years. No interest. The only thing I would ride is a riverboat cruise, like if it was like a Viking or one of those like it stays close to the coast kind of deals. I don't want to be like out in deep, dark waters.
I absolutely love cruises.
Yeah, really?
I love them. I went on one in January, and it's just so awesome. You can experience so many places like in one trip. That's the good thing about it. Like,
it's true. Yeah.
I mean, I love them. I just think they're so fun. It's so cool when you're out in the middle of the ocean. You can't see anything around. Like, it's really awesome.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's cool.
It scares some people. I think it's awesome.
I would have Titanic music playing in the background of my head all the time, and like
Speaking of
the
which,
thoughts of Jack slipping under the ice.
There's such a funny video. I need Racing to pull up.
Wait, Racing.
No, I was about to say, James, what do you think about cruises, though?
Yeah, what do you think, James?
Get in here.
I don't really know. I've never been on a cruise.
Never been on a cruise? Okay.
No.
Have you traveled anywhere outside the country?
Yeah, I went to France when I was like 5. That's really it.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's all right. So you've been I'm of that mindset where I'd rather like if I'm going to travel somewhere, I want to be like on the ground and like if I stop, like I can stop and like enjoy and look. And I feel like cruises rush you too because you have to rush back to the ship to don't miss the ship, obviously.
That's kind of what I love about it though. Like, it's so like exciting and like you're always moving and I don't know. I just love them. Like, I went on one after I graduated high school. We went to Curacao, Aruba, the Dominican, like a bunch of cool, beautiful places. Aruba.
Did you get to spend enough time though in those places? Like, how did you have hours, days? Like, what kind of?
It was like one day. I think it was like
just a day.
I think it was like 8 to 5, maybe.
Okay, I mean that's reasonable. I guess.
Just think it's. I don't know. I think it's a good way to experience like a bunch of places if that's like what you're looking for, rather than just staying in one place for like a week or something,
Yeah. See, to me, it comes down to like I'd like to be able to hang out and explore. Like when we went to Barbados for our anniversary, for our honeymoon, we were there for a week and we were able to like do a whole bunch of cool things, horseback riding on the beach and like all these neat things, and then explore the island just like in the mornings and stuff. Go walk around,
which
like,
that's really cool.
See what's going, because you kind of immerse yourself in the culture because it's obviously different from here. I feel like cruises don't give you that opportunity, but you do get to see all these different places.
And I mean, they're kind of cheap. Like, they're relatively cheap. Yeah, like I don't know, if you pick the right one, like you can go on a cruise for like
can I pay extra and have the food that does not make me sick?
You can go on a cruise for like $500 or $600.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, that's
pretty good,
how
actually.
much we paid for ours.
On top of like the food, it's also a sanitation thing too.
Yes.
Where it's just like, where's all of it going?
Screw it.
I mean, until like the ship starts sinking and you're like, oh, this water smells bad.
Tim, do you have that video?
I do have the video.
There's
on
this
deck.
really on deck.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, with the puns,
that.
you guys.
This has
been a good show so far. I hope you guys are enjoying this watching at home.
There's this really funny video that we saw.
Real quick, let me just reset. So Tyngsborough, you're watching Tyngsborough TV. It's the Friday wrap up. Don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe. Comment in the sections, the YouTube and Facebook if you'd like to, and we're going to carry on with conversation. Got some interesting guests coming. So all right. So what is this video we're showing? Is it safe
funny.
for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
right,
it is. It is very safe for work. I'm not sure clearance.
Is there sound to it?
There is sound, but it won't. I'm not sure if it'll play. Will
okay.
It?
Well, it will if you turn up input 2 on the TriCaster, I believe. So
it's just so funny.
Just keep the volume low, just in case it's like cranked.
Right.
So we'll see. We're gonna queue this up.
It popped up on my Twitter.
By the way, if you guys have any questions or anything else like that, feel free to email me sbrogan@tyngsboroughma.gov, or you can obviously ask them in the comment sections. I'm not sure about that last question. I have no idea. on that one.
We're
All right,
gonna-
here we go.
we're
Ready?
gonna
Let's
skip
see.
No, we're gonna skip this ad.
Oh,
Yeah.
what is with the ads on videos lately?
Yeah.
Every video you watch is like 2 and 3 of them now.
You know?
Yeah,
super annoying.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, there's a skip button.
Yeah, it's coming up. You gotta wait 10 seconds. All right, so essentially the background on this video is that there was a mall somewhere that started to flood, and there so happened to be a live band playing at the same time.
This sounds
So
hilarious.
they took it upon themselves to add some levity to the situation, and hopefully this plays.
Is the sound playing through?
Yeah, or maybe I have to turn it up a little bit more.
There you go. Just watch. Whatever else they're watching. We won't hear it through our headsets.
Oh, it's buffering.
Ugh.
But as you can see, there is water on the ground here.
Yeah, look at that, huh?
So at home, you can hear the band play the Titanic theme song.
As the song they play as
Yeah.
the boat sinking.
That's spectacular. That's if that was me and I was in that band, I'd literally would unplug my instrument and be like taking off. 'Cause you're gonna get shocked.
Yeah,
you get
That's
zapped. You're
so
plugged into
funny,
like
though.
You
you
guys
know,
just don't care about your instruments.
right?
It's like, yeah, like the water is like pouring down from the
Yeah.
ceiling.
Slowly
They're playing the
climbing. Yeah, I know.
Titanic song
The-
that they play when the.
Wait,
Oh gosh.
Steve, can you go back to the thing real quick?
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Oh.
Dang. No, it was funny because it was.
Oh, wow,
buffering.
you got
I was
the
going to say the buffer has been provided by GNC. So.
Yeah, they can hear that. I know.
All right, and Radio Shack. Apparently, what? When was this? That there's a Radio Shack open?
Yeah, this can't be recent.
No.
No,
I
that's
just,
not
I
recent.
thought
That's
it was
pretty
so
funny.
funny.
That is pretty funny. You know what it is? You're on Wi-Fi. That's why it's buffering so much. Yeah,
Okay.
that's okay.
Well,
Gotta
there,
love it.
You know.
That's all right. All right. So we're still waiting for. Hi, Pearl. How are you doing today? She's saying
Hey.
hi. People saying hi. Hey, everybody on Facebook watching.
Everybody.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I don't know what I was gonna say. I lost my train of
Oh,
thought there.
you know what I want to talk about?
What?
How many ticks have been around?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Ticks have
I
been bad.
went to the beach these past 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
and I walked out one night. I had it was cold out, so I had a blanket wrapped around me, and I didn't put the blanket on the ground. Like I didn't brush up against any trees or
Mm-hmm.
anything. Like I was very cautious about it because there was poison ivy around and stuff. So I kept it wrapped around me, and I got back and I saw a tick crawling up my leg, and I was like, oh my gosh, like where did that come from? And we took it out. Whatever, and then we started seeing more pop up. Like there was they were everywhere, and I was like, where are these coming from? And so I pulled out my blanket, and there had to have been at least 8 ticks
Ooh.
embedded all in my blanket. I had a white blanket, so you could see
I hate those things.
oh, I don't know where if they jumped up. I don't know, but it was really really gross.
The only thing that I found that gets rid of them, so we tried the cedar oil and some of the natural gardenia oil was another one. None of them work. The only thing I found that works is the actual chemical that kills them. We use this stuff called Permethrin,
Oh,
and it kills them. You can put it on your clothes and stuff. You can
Okay.
actually not soak your clothes, but spray your clothes down, and it provides a couple weeks worth of use when you wash them. After a couple washes, it washes away, but so you have to recoat stuff. But
Right.
man, I hate those things.
Yeah,
They're-
they're just so gross.
They're the worst. I actually sit there and kind of mess with them sometimes because they end up on our door frame. They crawl all over my house. It's insane. So I have to spray. That's why I spray. And they will go on the door frames and sit there and when you get near them, they stretch their arms out. So if you've ever played with it, I don't know if you've ever not played with it, but if you ever messed with the ticks,
Really?
when you get close to them within a few inches to a foot, they'll actually splay their arms out and they're reaching out to grab you. They sense your heat and they're reaching out to grab to your clothes or whatever they can get their little
Nasty.
gross claws on. Nasty
Gross.
little things. Hate those stupid things.
Yeah. I hate mosquitoes
they're-
too. I got so many bug bites.
Yeah, those have been rough too. I've been getting eaten alive at night. It's been insane, but there's not much you can do other than spray and
I know, but
Try to-
it's
Right, or
it's
have,
hard
like,
if you want to go the
chickens or
natural
something.
route, if you want to use natural stuff, because I'm not super I don't.
it doesn't always work.
I
you
know.
And I mean, like I said, we tried this.
Yeah.
We didn't want to use chemicals. We used cedar oil and gardenia oil and
Right.
It's hard.
something
yeah.
else too. And none of it worked. All it did was irritate the ticks, and they ended up climbing further up my house.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? It was crazy.
Great.
Yeah, thanks, good job. Appreciate it. And then I just came in with
Is
a
this cedar oil
skull
down
and
here?
crossbones.
Yeah, there was the ticks was talking to him.
Yeah. Those buggers. All right, so our guest is here. She's right around the corner. So we're gonna bring in Liz, and I have to ask Liz how to pronounce her last name because I think I butchered it last time. Where is she? She leave? She's still here?
Hey.
Come on over, Liz. Sorry, I didn't mean to yell that in the microphone. My bad, guys.
Just put these on,
What's going on, Liz?
and then.
So go jump in the chair there, the hot seat.
We will reset.
Yeah, we're gonna reset really quick. We'll just adjust the camera so you can see who she is.
Are you gonna be on the show? Oh yeah. Do you want to come over right here?
All right. So Do you want to? I mean, it's up to you. If you want to come in now, you can. Yeah, jump
So if
in.
you wanna take those
There's another
off.
headset. Liz, just swap headsets and give that one to Julia. No, we'll get to that at the 12:30. I told people that we're going to do that at 12:30. So yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. All right. Okay. So our guests are two of our guests are here. One for the later part of the program and the other for the early. Liz, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's Antanavica.
Wait, run one more time.
Antanavica.
Antanavica. Okay. I
very
pronounce
phonetic.
it Antavika, but okay. Antanavica.
Yeah,
Okay,
there you
got it.
go.
I can do that. I can do that one. I'm not too bad with the pronunciations. I can usually get them right, as long as it's not some crazy like. Some of them I get to. All right. So you are on the town's new sustainability committee, right?
We just petitioned to have the committee established
Okay.
on Tuesday night.
Okay.
At this point, it actually doesn't have any membership because nobody's been appointed.
Okay. So is it like, are you even appointed, or is it just?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So I would like to be appointed. I submitted my letter of intent.
Okay.
The Colin is looking for anybody who is interested to submit letters of intent. The information is all on the website.
Okay.
But we're looking for 5 to 7 volunteer members to join the committee.
Okay.
All residents are welcome. We're looking for people with a passion for sustainability and to bring some new ideas to solve some of the problems that we have in Tyngsborough.
Okay. So what is the primary charter for the committee?
Great question. So our initial goals are to help strengthen some of the programs that are already going on in Tyngsborough.
Okay.
And to help create new opportunities for waste reduction, energy efficiency, and overall environmental sustainability in the town. And one of the primary programs that I talked about a little bit at the Elections meeting is about composting.
Okay.
So this idea started back in the fall because I was a resident that was frustrated with the way we were dealing with yard waste removal in the town of Tyngsborough. As it is today, there's 2 dates in the spring and 2 dates in the fall that you can put out your yard waste, and Republic Services will come and collect that. And it always seems to pour, snow,
Yeah. It's
rain when it's time for yard waste collection.
this
So
year has been, particularly difficult with that stuff, I feel like, but yeah.
Yes. And if you're off season from that and you have yard waste materials that need to be collected,
Right.
there's really no other option. So when I've spoken with other residents, the common thing that everybody says, I just throw that in the woods. But as you learned from Danielle, and I had a great conversation with Danielle from the Conservation Department, is
right.
that's becoming an issue for our stormwater management processes.
Right. Yes. Phosphorus.
Because the town of Tyngsborough is covered in beautiful wetland resource areas, but when you dump your grass clippings and your yard waste right in the culvert or near the stream bed, really within 100 feet of a wetland resource area, you're potentially causing some impairment to that space.
You're right. Yep.
And we have these really incredible places that we want to keep clean, our ponds, our lakes, our rivers, and residents just don't have another option. So we'd like to create an option where residents could bring yard waste, grass, leaves, and even when we have big storms and you have lots of trees down and things like that, a place that you could bring those materials, and then the finished compost could be returned to residents to use on their lawn or use in their garden to grow vegetables.
It's a perfect circle. Right.
Exactly.
So I will say too, I want to say quickly that our highway guys do an excellent job, at least when they can, where they can, in helping remove some of this debris. Like when we had all those storms, they were able to go around and pick up a bunch of it. They couldn't get all of it, so it's kind of hard because they're trying to do obviously other tasks as well. But at least we have them that those guys do a lot of work in trying to help clean up. But I think a compost. Community compost pile, I guess, if you will, would be amazing. That'd be awesome.
And a lot of towns have it. I came from a town that had a compost facility that was open 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, really?
You
Okay.
could bring your materials there.
Oh.
And then in exchange, they had finished compost that you could bring home. You just bring buckets and shovels and put it in your car or your truck.
Is there a limit how much you can take?
No.
Oh, wow,
And
really?
actually,
I'd show up with like a pickup truck.
yeah.
Load it up.
They would generate plenty of material. They never ran out.
Really?
So
Okay.
it was always there and available free to town residents.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And then they had wood chipping too. So if you had a playground area or underneath the swing set and you wanted to have some wood chips to control the weeds, you could take that away too. And even you would see people with chainsaws cutting up larger tree trunks to take that wood home to burn in a fireplace or.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. That's cool. Yeah, it's a general area to pick up and grab all of that stuff.
Right.
Bring and take home the good stuff too. So
Right, because it is a valuable resource. It's not a burden. So we should find a way for residents to be able to utilize it instead of just throwing it in the woods or paying somebody to take it away.
makes sense. I mean, composting, if you can do it at home, it's obviously great to do it on your own, but some people just don't have the want and or interest in doing it, or they don't have the space availability, because it can smell. If you're throwing your food scraps and stuff, it can have somewhat of an odor, and you try not to blow your neighbors out. I mean, Tyngsborough is kind of not in a half bad area because there's a lot of houses with more than a postage stamp of a yard, but then there's a lot of people who just have that, who live in townhouses, condos.
Right.
kind of things
If
too,
you
I
live in a
imagine,
small
so-
space or you live very close to a water body,
Mhm.
you might not have a place that's ideal for composting.
Right. Yeah.
Or you might not have the time or the desire to turn your pile regularly so that it breaks down.
Right. There's maintenance of it too. Yeah. And some people
Right.
just don't have interest in doing that. I mean, I try, but it's like, how often do you actually get out there and start like, I'm going to go turn the compost today?
Right.
That's
It's
fine.
definitely not people's first decision to
Right,
go out,
yeah.
run out on a Saturday morning and turn their compost pile. I'm going
Right.
to finish this cup of coffee and I'm going to get right to work.
I think you have an excellent idea though. You've got a good plan here with a community compost. Do you have any idea like where you could put, or have you even got this far, like where you could put it, how people would get it there? Because I mean, you're going to run into the issue too of like, I have 25 bags of leaves, like, and a Honda Civic. Like, how am I supposed to get all these bags of leaves to the community
Right.
compost pile?
So this idea is really in its infancy. So we haven't identified a parcel yet.
Okay.
We are, we've asked some questions and we've looked at some town properties, really in the very beginning stages. So nothing is set in stone at this point.
Of course, this is all just right in the thought process.
We're exploring. So we're trying to bring this idea to light and get this resource available for residents to use, but we haven't worked out all of the details yet.
Okay. So I want to just quickly tie in, you mentioned Danielle Maccheroni, our conservation director. So I did an interview with her on Thursday. Check that interview out because we talked about the issue that we're sort of glancing over a little bit with if you have a house and you have leaves and all this stuff, you can't just throw it into a culvert or throw it next to a body of water because all of that decomposes and causes extra phosphorus going into the water bodies, which then cause problems further down the stream, or downstream, I should say. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with that. You degrade basically the natural habitats of animals because now you're throwing all this stuff that wasn't there before. So yeah, you can cause a lot of problems with that. Not to mention too the phosphorus that's in fertilizers from your grass. A lot of people use that, and they're trying to get people to use phosphorus-free fertilizers, especially if you live near a water body, which Tyngsborough is like, over blessed with. I mean, there's just so many water bodies that are gorgeous around here, including the swampy areas too. So yeah, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that anyways, I should say. So watch that interview. That was this past Thursday. It's on our Facebook feed. You can check it out and get a little more background information. Quickly before we move on, I want to introduce Julia Green. Julia Green.
Yes.
So you're from DEP, yes?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So what exactly do you do for DEP?
Well, I work with
Pull that mic up nice and close too.
Oh, sorry.
There
Is
you
this
go.
better?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. I'm the municipal assistance coordinator for what we call Northeast District 3.
Okay.
And I work with 36 cities and towns all the way down from like Watertown and Medford all the way up to Tyngsborough and over to Methuen.
Okay.
So, and I work with them on waste reduction.
Okay.
So anything that has to do with how we can reduce our waste. So recycling, composting, how to divert other materials out of the waste stream and reuse, reduce, all of that. Because we have a master plan for the state of Massachusetts to reduce our waste, and this is one of the ways that we're trying to help cities and towns to achieve those goals.
Okay. So the
Yeah.
old mantra of reduce, reuse, recycle, right?
Yeah.
That should be near and dear to everybody. We all know that
Yes.
one.
And that's our
the three
mission.
R's. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. So
Yeah.
now we were talking a bit too about the. We did the interview with Donna, and we went over the Recycle Smart
Right. Yeah.
website, which worked fairly well. It had a
Yeah.
couple of quirks and some issues that we kind of talked about that
Right.
in terms of keywords and things like that. But
Yeah.
I thought it was cool that you guys used our show to kind of help find some of these little.
I love
discrepancies.
I love that show because it was painful.
I didn't mean to make it painful. I apologize for that. That was not the intent at all. We were trying to show the good of it, actually.
But it's interesting, because not until people actually use a tool do you know exactly how the questions look. So you're trying to anticipate as much as possible how people are going to use the tool, and then how they're finding the information or not finding the information is really instructive. So for us, when you were looking up the different items and whether or not you were finding them correctly
Right,
and
yeah.
interpreting what the information was on the recyclesmartma.org website,
Mhm.
you know, so that this recyclopedia, we want everyone using that, because if you have that one-stop shop there at the recyclesmartma.org,
Mhm.
then you can always go there. So if something happens, changes in the recycling markets, you have some place to go. It's not something that's on the refrigerator that's 5 years old that's no longer relevant.
Right,
Right.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
is the problem, because recycling is a moving target. I mean, you guys
Yes.
both know this pretty
Yeah.
intimately, I'm sure. It's not one of those things like, you know, paper is good today and tomorrow nobody wants it anymore, so
You're
now what
right.
do I do with it?
Right.
Which is a problem.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, what we sort of determined from going through the website was like, all right, I have this container. What do I call it? How do I,
Right.
you know, like it had tomatoes in it, tomato
Right.
container, but then it's looking for like pasta sauce kind of container.
Right.
You know, so like there's that kind of using keywords and creating new
Yes.
keywords so that you can
And that's the whole
find some of
thing
these items easily.
with that website too, is
Mhm.
that we really want people to contact us as well,
Mhm.
because we're always improving the tools. So if you have some way of calling, like you can type in Pringles can,
Mhm.
and it'll come up with like paper. It'll show you the mixed paper metal can. I think you had a can of nuts or something like that on your show.
It was
right?
it was
Yeah.
breadcrumbs actually,
Yeah,
and so that had
breadcrumbs.
3 different materials: metal, paper, and plastic for the lid.
Right.
Which was like, why can't I recycle? Because it's all good materials otherwise,
Right.
but because they were combined. It was
So
no
when
good.
we get that feedback, right? Oh, okay, we should throw Pringles can in there. We should throw breadcrumbs can in there, and it'll all lead to that page that shows you those pictures of those 3 material cans.
Okay.
So so as we get more terms in there, then hopefully people will be able to find what they're looking for.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like anything, I mean, like any good tool, you have to give it to the person who's going to use it.
Right.
Let them use it for a little bit, break it, beat it up,
Yes.
you know, destroy it, and then give it back to you like, hey, this didn't work or this did work.
Right.
You know, fix it, come back with
Right.
a new iteration, and then you'll have it more fine-tuned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I thought it was very interesting when we did that show
Mm.
about the difference between recycling clear plastics versus colored plastics.
Right.
Like that was just like, I thought they were all just fine, but no.
Well, that's a great point, because I was talking to Steve about this earlier too, is the fact that black plastic is really the problem, because for some reason the optical scanners cannot see fully black plastic. So back to that show with the plastic tub thing with the tomatoes in it.
Yep.
It had a yellow bottom. It can see the yellow bottom.
Okay.
It can't see. I don't know if it's just that is all an absence of color in the black or whatever, but and also that they haven't updated the technology. They haven't figured out to have the technology to see that black plastic.
You know, I kind of had
So-
I actually had a theory on this.
Hmm.
So in video, we have what's called an alpha channel, where that's your transparent layer. So you can have video show underneath like a graphic, a lower third, or like the bug in the screen right now. I'm wondering if they used black as their color for like overlays of like a HUD, basically, you know, all the information that the administrator might see using the machinery.
Yeah.
That's there, because in one of our programs, black is actually that color, and it's used for the alpha channel. So I'm wondering if maybe
Oh,
their
yeah.
software
Yeah.
and their optical sensor, they use that
And
specific, because
it
it's
may-
the
yeah.
least likely color to be used, and obviously black plastic now is a problem, but
Yeah.
but it was the least likely color to be used because everything else is generally clear or brightly colored plastics and things
Right.
like that. So maybe, anyways, that's my guess. But
Yeah, I'm
you know.
unsure, but it's always disappointing because we believe so much in technology in our
Mhm.
society. So you think like plastic bags. Why can't they figure out a way that you can put that through the processing plant and just recycle them? But
Right,
no,
yeah.
they get caught in the machinery, and they haven't figured out a fix for that.
They wreak havoc on the
Yeah.
machinery, from what I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not good. I had the chance to visit oh man, what was the name of the company? The big one in Boston.
Waste management.
Casella.
No, Casella.
Casella,
Yeah.
and it was their recycling facility.
Yeah.
And that was one of their biggest complaints, was plastic bags and VCR tapes.
VCR
Because the
tapes.
VCR tape would come out, wrap itself around the rollers, and because of the friction would actually, the VCR, believe it or not, VCR tape could actually cut through the steel of the machinery,
Wow.
because it would
Wow.
wrap around so tightly and then spin, and it would just basically cut. So there was all these problems with those two items.
Technically, like a bag ends up working as what we call a tangler, because
Mm-hmm.
it gets tangled in that machinery. But there's all kinds of things that people wish cycle when they're at their recycle cart and throwing in like the family or the garden hose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's made out of plastic, and that's a nightmare.
One
for
little
the
piece of it, maybe. Yeah.
But these are the things that get like those tangling things are terrible. Or I'll wrap my newspapers up in string. Then the string
that
will get
bad, the string?
separated. Yeah, because
okay.
it acts as a tangler. Still, just throw everything in loose. That's what they want. They want everything loose, clean and dry.
Right.
You
And
know?
so
And-
you just
wow.
actually hit on a key point that I want to make sure to mention is the clean and dry part. We talked about
Yeah.
this on the phone, and after our show, we sort of also realized like clean and dry is a problem,
Yeah.
clearly, because this is one of the reasons why China and other countries have said no more, stop sending us your stuff because we're sending it dirty, basically. And I'm guilty too. I've done it a ton of times. The raspberry jam container that
Yes.
I don't really need to clean, or you just rinse it out quick and you throw it in. It's still got a bunch of food in it and stuff. That's partly what got us shut down from these overseas
Yeah.
markets.
Yeah, because it goes into what's called mixed paper,
Mhm.
So then what happens, I'm told, I've never seen it, but like they bale it, right?
Mhm.
And then it sits around for months even before it arrives to its market in China or
Oh, it's probably
else.
rank by that point.
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's
wow,
actually
yeah.
cooking.
Jeez.
It's actually cooking inside.
Yeah.
So if you just
Right.
open through the first layer, it's empty in there. It's just a big ball of mold by the time it gets to its
Ugh.
end. This is why contamination is such a huge problem, so it degrades really rapidly. Well, what's happening now is that China's really not accepting any mixed paper. And what's happening in the United States is that new, old paper mills that used to produce white paper, like office paper, et cetera,
Yep.
that had closed in like the past 10 years or even less, are now reopening as what they call brown paper mills, creating like, basically the boxes, the mail order, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And they'll be processing mixed paper. So they're all coming online in the next year or two.
Oh,
There's
okay.
at least 7, 8, or 8 of them nationally that are coming online. So they'll be sent there. It's a shorter distance to get to processing. And then what they really want to get out of that is pulp. So that'll be the end product, and then that might be shipped to any place in the world, including China, to make new products.
Okay.
So we're not shipping the primary product that's going to get wasted on the way over. We're shipping really the end product, which is this pulp that
Wasn't the
manufacturers want.
The original reason for shipping this stuff to China, wasn't it because we were sending back empty containers
Yes.
that came with all their Chinese-made products?
Right.
So we were sending them back basically filled with all of our recyclables.
Exactly. So it was free.
Right.
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so now that's why the cost of recycling has gone up, because processing costs has gone up to
Yeah.
clean it up, and then shipping costs have gone up to get it to whatever market it's going to.
Okay. I mean, it's good to know that we have some stuff opening up locally,
Yes.
in the country anyways,
Yeah.
and we're not shipping it halfway around the world. I always wonder about the ship that hits rough waters and
Yeah.
the things that go in the water, and then
Yeah.
half of it's, just our recyclable materials that
Right.
ends up part of that giant pool of plastic. It's awful. I don't even want to talk about that, but
Yeah.
You've seen
many
that though, right?
variables to this.
Yeah.
Like, even
Yes.
like the whole thing about wrapping up newspapers. I was like, oh yeah, you do that, but like apparently you don't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like we remember the reduce, reuse, recycle. However, like there's always updates to learning
Yes.
recycling.
Right.
How do you
Right.
get, like this is a great resource, but it's like how do you get people who don't know about this to like think about recycling
Right.
in
Right.
the front of their mind?
And it's
like that?
important to know the order in which those R's happen. So reduce is first.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about that tomato container that's yellow on the bottom, there is a hierarchy of what is a valuable recyclable material and what is not. And
Right.
the
more
people-
desirable plastics versus others.
Right. The companies that are in the recycling business, they're not in it to save the world. They're here to make money and turn a profit on the materials that they're collecting in their bin. So if you can reduce the amount of recyclables that you're creating in the first place, you'll solve a lot of these problems down the road. If you can bring your own reusable coffee cup, or you can use a digital newspaper subscription instead of a physical paper one, or you could just buy your produce at the grocery store loose. No plastic bags, no plastic wrapping, just, a good old naked piece of produce. It doesn't need all that extra stuff to it.
You raise a good point, because it's not just, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but it's not just a bunch of tree huggers at the recycle plant trying to save the world. They're trying to profit.
No, this is a
they're-
business for them.
Right. This is a legitimate business for those guys. So figuring out, what is and isn't recyclable is important to them, because it means money.
Right. And if they, we go back into the clean and dry. So if you are the recycler on your route that does not make sure that your materials are clean and dry, and you're throwing a dirty pasta sauce container in with your mixed papers, and your recycling is so contaminated that it contaminates the whole truck, that whole truck is not getting recycled.
Right.
Everybody else on that route,
The whole truck?
the whole truck, if the truck is significantly impaired for contamination, the entire truck is diverted to one of our incinerators instead.
Yeah.
Is not
Really?
recycled.
So-
That doesn't happen that much, but there
Okay.
are cases
Right.
where if everybody on that route is, and another one I wanted to talk about is water bottles, right? Everybody's buying their bottled water, and yet we have like the best water in the country, really, in the northeast part of this
We do, you're right.
of our country, and we're not drinking our water. Carry a water bottle, but then you go back to people who drink bottled water all the time, and they throw into the recycling 40 bottles that are half full of water. So what happens to that when it gets in the recycling truck? It gets mixed with the pizza sauce or the spaghetti sauce. That even gets more contamination into
Just
everything
makes a
there.
nasty soup of grossness.
And,
yeah.
exactly. So these are all the things to empty, clean and dry. Empty those bottles. If you're outside, just pour it in the grass. The grass will thank you for it.
Yeah.
But they should never go in half full. But a lot of people, again, it's like education right now. People don't know about the whole process, so they're not thinking about, oh wow, I really shouldn't put water in. But once they get it, they go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'll do it.
For the longest time, I used to take the water bottle, because we'd always have them kicking around the house, and I would take it, open it up, dump the remainder down the drain, and then recycle the bottle. I got smart and was like, why am I dumping this good water down the drain? I started pouring it on the plants in the house.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing? What if I
Yeah.
do this for years?
Right.
I have two questions I want to quickly reset before we move on. And my phone, telemarketer was calling me like crazy. Throw my phone in the trash, literally. They have not fixed that problem.
Don't do
answer
that.
the
Send it to
email.
an electronics recycle.
Thank you. Yes, good point. Very good point. Yes, good. Well done. So this is the Friday wrap-up, Tyngsborough TV's Friday wrap-up. I have a couple of guests here, Liz Antonivica and Julia Green from DEP. Liz is from the town. She's working on the new sustainability committee. We're going to talk a little more about that in a minute. I also have another guest who's trying to get out of it, but Donna McPartland from the Board of Health. She'll be here shortly as well. Sorry, Donna. throw you under the bus on that one. She'll be here too to talk about the Board of Health perspective on some of this stuff. If you're watching the show, don't forget YouTube, Facebook, tyngsboroughmaid.gov, and Comcast 8, Verizon 29. And if you have questions, you can leave them on either Facebook or YouTube and ask them of our guests. She's leaving me angry comments on Facebook too. For Julia, the pizza box thing.
Yeah.
It's like threw me off, because for the longest
Right.
time I was told by, I don't know if you know Gunther Wallenstein. He used to
Oh,
run
yes.
Lowell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he used to run Lowell, and we did this big video with him a while back, years ago. And pizza boxes was okay if you got rid of the greasy part. But
Right.
then you were telling me on the phone that the greasy part of the box is actually okay now.
Yeah.
I was told that the grease actually ruined the batch of paper.
Yes.
But then you had other information on that. So
I thought that too. We were all shocked when we learned this, So when we came up with the Recyclopedia, that's when all of the materials, recovery facilities, MRFs is what we call them,
Okay.
like where you went to Casella to see the processing. They said, actually, greasy pizza boxes are fine, according to the paper mills.
Huh.
And then I went to 2 conferences last year, and sure enough, there were people from the big paper mills, one being West Rock, which is one of the bigger companies in the country.
okay.
And she was adamant that they don't care about grease on the pizza boxes, and that is fine. They will take them in the mixed paper.
That's awesome. Then I don't have to cut my
Yeah.
pizza boxes up.
Right.
Yeah,
I'd like
you
cut
don't.
around the grease.
Right. Well, I think we were all doing that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but she was really funny because she said, we don't want the pizza, we don't want the crust, we don't want the little table in the middle, the little plastic
Oh,
table.
yeah. Right.
And we don't want the wax paper that's in there. We don't want anything
makes
else
sense.
except
Just the
for the
box.
box.
Just the box.
Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
I don't have to tear my boxes apart.
Right.
That's
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
good to know. So you can
Yeah.
toss that right in the thing. For the longest time, it was
Yeah.
like
Right.
no grease whatsoever.
Right.
You know, and in Lowell, until we went single stream, we
Yeah.
had the split. You had the paper in one and the plastics and everything else in the other
Right.
container. So it wasn't as much of an issue to split it up, and you just, you know. But
Right,
then they
right.
probably have contamination issues with their stuff
Right.
too. So
Yes.
yeah.
For
For Liz, I wanted to ask you about the idea of a sort of, so on the reuse side of reduce, reuse, recycle, which obviously the reuse is the best piece of it because you can limit stuff from getting into the waste stream. Some type of a town, I don't even know what to call it, swap meet kind of thing, but like for reusing. So like we talked about like hangers, you know, instead of, you can't recycle them and you don't want to trash them because they're still usable. So maybe like some
could
mother
put them
might
to
need like the
use.
little kids hangers, or you know, some type of thing like that in the community where people could get together and like, hey, I need this, I'll give you this, and oh, I need some of those. Can I, you know, trade off stuff?
That would be a great activity for the town to take.
Mhm.
Some towns already do it. So Salem,
Oh, really?
Mass,
Okay,
actually just had a townwide swap day.
that's awesome.
And I forget the name of the company that they worked with, but the town advertised that you could come during certain hours on a Saturday to the
Mhm.
town common,
Mhm.
and you could bring anything that you didn't need or want to swap. I think there were some rules about it. Like
Okay,
it couldn't just be like a broken pile of crap,
Yeah.
but
Don't bring
um,
junk. Bring stuff that's actually usable.
things that could be reused.
Yeah.
And everybody brought it to the town common. You could drop off. You could take things home. It was free.
Okay.
And then they worked with a company at the end of the time frame that you could do the swapping.
Yep.
A company came out. It wasn't Savers, but like a Savers came
took all
and
the
took
other stuff.
everything away.
See, that's brilliant because then it completes the cycle and it all gets
Right.
back
Right.
Right,
reused and-
because if think about it, especially kids stuff,
Mhm.
or
so much kid
if
stuff. It's not even
materials are
fair.
durable enough for you to give them a second life,
Hmm.
it's probably a really good thing
Yeah, right.
because you can use it again.
Right.
So there's no reason we should be throwing that stuff in the waste stream just because you don't want it anymore. Somebody else could love it again.
Mm-hmm.
And kids' stuff tends to be the hardest to give away too. To
It's true. Yeah.
a lot of charity organizations don't want it. They can't store it. They don't have
Oh,
a
really?
need for it.
Oh.
But there are plenty of kids in your town that would absolutely love to have that
Yeah.
item that your kid outgrew or just stopped enjoying it this week because something else cool came along. We could definitely give those items a second life and
Yeah.
keep them out of the waste stream.
Well, I mean, I have a half a room full of like baby stuff. I
Right.
mean, and it's, you know, the solid plastic things, you know, the walkers and the strollers and all these little, you know, things that, like, what am I going to do with these? I can put them on the curb and maybe somebody will take them. Eventually, they're probably going to end up ruined by all this rain and then in the trash.
Yeah.
So, like, how do I get rid of that in a way that makes me feel good about it? Basically, I can get it to a family who maybe either can't afford it, doesn't, or just doesn't want to buy it, and they can reuse it, and then the next kid can reuse it, and the stuff lasts
Right.
for a long time.
It's like the old saying, you know, wear it out or go without.
Yeah.
Use it up, wear it out.
Yeah.
If we could keep some of those things in circulation until they're really at the end of their usable life, we would just have less of a waste problem overall.
Right. No, I totally agree. I think we could really nip a lot of this in the bud. But then at the end of the day, there is still going to be some stuff left over that we have to deal with.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's figuring out how to use some of that stuff. I saw a really cool documentary on. Actually, hang on. There's a question on Facebook. What was the resource? Oh, the website. The website is recyclesmartma.org. Can you post
Yeah,
that in the
yeah.
comments, Teresa? Or Kaylee, whoever? Just post that up for me. Where was I? Lost my train of thought. What was
The
I supposed to say?
documentary.
Oh, the documentary. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So I saw a really interesting documentary on. This was in, I think, the UK.
Hmm.
Might have been Europe. I think it was UK. They were taking like old plastics and all this stuff, like the stuff that has no value, not the food grade stuff, but like the computer cases and like just random plastic,
Right.
and they were turning it into roadways, which was awesome. They basically turned it into hot top,
Yep.
and were repaving roads with this stuff, and it was fantastic.
Oh.
I don't know what the longevity of it was because it was, you know, they didn't say
Yeah.
that in the documentary, but it seemed like a really good use. So why aren't we using some of
Right.
those? You know, maybe we just have to develop that here.
Right.
You know, the infrastructure to be able to reuse some of that stuff, because there's a lot of it that ends up. If you've ever seen the pictures of the island in the middle of the ocean, that's
Yes.
like all of our plastics that somehow swirl into this couple of spots in the ocean. It's awful. I mean, it's just disgusting to see
Yeah.
that we've done that to our natural resources.
Right.
You know.
It's interesting to see other countries and even some cities and towns in this country too, which are doing compostable single-use ware.
Mhm.
So normally it's made out of potato starch or
Is this the
some
plastic
type of
forks and
starch.
stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're compostable. They're not their best. They don't break down as quickly. Like you couldn't stick it in your compost pile in your yard. It's gonna take a while to break down there. But in
Okay.
these industrial compost companies, they can handle those. So,
Wasn't there a company in Lowell
yeah.
that actually came up with one of those?
there might be. I'm
wanna
not
say there was.
familiar with them.
Okay.
But you can buy it. They call it greenware. There's certain like takeout places that are organic takeout places
Mhm.
that they use those. So if you looked at your cup, it looked like a regular plastic cup, but in fact it's this greenware.
Mhm.
So it's actually compostable. So when you think about that other countries are going to that, so that eventually that is going to break down.
Mhm.
So it's not going to land in the ocean or be in a landfill or even have to go to the incinerator where it's going to be burnt up, but then the toxins that come out of plastics as well. So again, thinking about our single-use lifestyle that we have, how
Mhm.
can we change that up a little bit so that we're not trashing all the time? I
Mhm.
call it being a trasher.
We tend to be
Yeah.
a very, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we do tend to be a very wasteful people, I guess,
Yeah.
a society in general. So my grandfather grew up. He came over to this country in the 50s, and because of the way it was from where he came, they came from Greece. He was constantly would save everything, like everything, and he would you'd drive down the street and he would stop and pick up like a vanity that somebody was getting rid of, literally from like a bathroom, because he'd be like, oh, I could reuse that somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have that anymore though. Like everything we
Right.
buy is very disposable. Computers, we trash them when we're done with them. Phones, we whatever we do with them. All of
Right.
these hard materials that can potentially get reused or fixed don't
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
fixed or reused. They just
Well,
get thrown away.
We need to shift our thinking a little bit because it doesn't really become waste until you waste it.
Right. Yeah.
So if
How do we do that though? How do we shift that
Mm.
mentality?
I think people just need to start looking at the materials that they have in front of them
Mhm.
and figure out what they can do with them instead of putting them in the trash.
Mhm.
Or maybe you didn't really need them in the first place. So there's some other factors at play
That's a good
here,
point,
like
yeah.
planned obsolescence with
Yeah.
your cell phone.
Yep.
But if you can hold on to your iPhone 7 as long as you have,
Still am.
do you really need to have a half an inch bigger screen or a tenth of an inch bigger screen, or is
Or a better camera or a bigger hard drive. Yeah.
can you hold
Yeah, I
on
know
to
what you
that
mean.
for a little bit longer?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that,
Yeah.
and some of it is totally beyond our control.
Mm-hmm.
But if you start focusing on what can I buy that is a durable good and not disposable. So could I order myself a 6-pack of really nice glass refillable bottles for my daily water bottle instead of
yeah.
buying a case of plastic bottles a week?
Yeah.
What can you do instead? Easy swaps. We're not talking about like throwing your whole lifestyle out the window and starting from scratch. Simple things that you can do to have more durable goods in your life than relying on these disposable options.
So a case of water, they cost about what, $4 a case
Yeah, maybe
ish, right?
Yeah.
$3, $4.
Something like that. So here, quick math on the back of the napkin: $208 if you did that
Mhm.
one case a week for $4 a case, depending on what kind
Yeah.
of water. If you like Evian or something like this, maybe more.
Right.
So you could buy yourself a nice Nalgene bottle for like $15 at LL Bean. Get yourself a water, if you don't have one already, a nice water filter reverse osmosis machine, which I just did at my house for like I think $160.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you could have super clean, awesome water and save yourself $200 a year probably. And the cost of that would actually pay for the stuff that you had to buy in
Yeah.
order to get to that point.
Exactly.
So your point is 100% valid. I mean, the fact that we throw away all these water bottles and like, all of this stuff that could, like you said, be reused or not bought at all. I mean, maybe we
Right.
don't.
Right.
Go without.
I feel like water bottles is one of our biggest, like, whoever
Yeah.
created that should be smacked because, like, dude, seriously, you just ruined the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a great idea, but you ruined the world. Plastic, the same thing. A great idea,
Yeah.
but it's messing everything up.
Right.
The end result of it. So,
You see,
Um,
I even wonder in cases like that, like, could you
Mhm.
just start bringing your own cup to places?
Yeah,
a lot of places do.
absolutely.
Starbucks.
You know?
If you bring your own cup,
Absolutely.
Really?
yeah,
They'll fill it up for you.
they
Yeah.
will fill up
Yep.
your own cup. Yep.
And sometimes
That's cool.
you even save a little bit of money. So
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, it's usually like 10 cents or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the girls at the Honeydew right on Westford Road, they're fantastic.
Mhm.
Sometimes if my kids are asleep, I'll even go through the drive-through with my reusable cup. But they give you a discount if you bring your own cup.
Yeah.
It's like $1.50 instead of whatever the regular.
Oh, wow, that's a better
the
discount
regular
than
cup of
Starbucks.
coffee
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Starbucks only gives you
And,
like 10 cents, I think. So.
Yeah.
But you can, there's bulk bin shopping. You could go to a Whole Foods and utilize a jar instead of their plastic single-use container. You can buy your bulk coffee that way. You don't always have to rely on these like limited use items. Why would you ever make something that's intended to be used for a few minutes out of a material that's going to last hundreds of years? Like
Thousands
the
even.
plastic water bottle that doesn't get recycled is going to outlast me and I'm going to drink the water out of it for 30 minutes. Like that
If
that doesn't seem
yeah.
like the right way to go
Right.
in terms of the material that you're choosing for your single-use items.
It's funny because like vehicles, cars, things like that. You know the manufacturers build in a time span for them. Same thing with cell phones, right? But yet, to your point, we make water bottles something we use for like 30 minutes at best. Out of this super long-lasting, ultra durable, can't be broken without a short of a bomb.
Doesn't
you know what
that
I mean?
seem
Like
counterintuitive?
it's very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you
Yeah.
you bring some good points up here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, no, it's interesting to see. It's a matter of getting everybody to change their way of thinking, like you said. You know, and it's frustrating. And
And manufacturers too. So if we
Yeah.
talked about like the tool there, the recyclesmartma.org,
Yep.
right? And why we need something like that so that when there are changes, right now, they're redesigning a lot of packaging, which you'll see in the next year or two. And what they're actually doing is making it be able to be sent with the mail. Like I know somebody who actually buys their toilet paper through Amazon right now. Is that insane? But it's true.
I'm gonna just hide over
you
here.
know?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you right now, Amazon delivery, auto delivery. That's pretty awesome.
So,
Sorry.
but they're starting to redesign everything. So, for instance, you take like a laundry liquid laundry bottle, right? That's actually made out of plastic that the recyclers want. That's a good plastic to be recycled. But now they're going to make it out of, and you might have seen these containers now where it's got like a hard cap at the top, like a regular cap, but then the rest of the packaging is like a bag. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife actually buys a lot of stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So that
Method, I think, is a big one, and using the pouch with the pour spout kind of deal. Yeah.
So what's bad about that is that what's good about it is I think it's like 40% less packaging. The bad thing is it's not recyclable anymore. So
that's an interesting quandary right there.
So those are the things that will be added to the Recycle Smart. Is that recyclable? No, it isn't. It's trash. But then the debate is like, all right, so it uses less material. Is that good? Over the fact that it's not going to be recyclable, so they're creating packaging all the time that's not recyclable. So, like I notice how much
It's a catch-22,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
which way do you go? Do you go with the recyclable item, or do you go with the one that
Yes,
doesn't uses
absolutely.
less materials, but you
Right.
throw in the trash?
uses less
and then burn or
materials
whatever.
and then ships better. So this
Right.
is their whole thing, is that they're getting ready for us to never go to another supermarket again that will have Amazon delivery
never
or
happen.
whatever. Yeah.
I do some things on Amazon that I have to go to a supermarket. I mean, I like to when it's not busy, prance down the aisles and grab, I'll take some of this and a little of that. No, I don't really do that.
They're sending you bruised apples on the way. 'cause
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah, seriously, they're gonna send you the worst apples and stuff. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You're gonna get crummy fruit.
All
and,
I can say
yeah.
is they're working on it, So,
Yeah.
Okay.
so
they can keep working. I sure ain't gonna use it, but
at the same time, because they want light. They want light because they're sending it, they're transporting it.
well, right, weight's effective.
So,
I mean, they're looking
yeah.
at all the ways. I've noticed over the years, especially in the last decade, the way companies have changed the way they even sell the stuff that's displayed on the shelves. The
Right.
packaging has gotten smaller, more minimalized. There's more clamshell type packs as
Yes.
opposed to a box with more plastic inside with. Though my daughter did find the one toy that has the most wrapping I've ever seen on anything. These little LOL things.
Oh,
They're wrapped
you can recycle all of that packaging now through TerraCycle.
Oh, really?
So all that junk, because it's the toys about this big,
Yeah,
and the
it's
packaging
yeah,
is like this
it's
big.
ridiculous.
Wow.
You can actually, so there's a company called TerraCycle that has found a way to recycle almost everything.
That's okay.
And there's a free program.
That's a
It's
good thing.
It's sponsored by LOL, and they'll take back all that stuff.
Really.
You send it to them, you print out a free shipping label, and you send it right off. And they
I'm going to be spamming them with
Yeah.
so much junk.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. They loaded me up with trash. My daughter
Wow.
loves those dumb things too.
my
Oh.
kids love them too.
They're
No,
annoying.
what are they made out of that they need so much wrapping?
So that's the shtick of it. It's like you
Yeah.
have this thing. It's a ball and there's a toy inside, but they wrap the ball with literally 6 layers of plastic. Not even
Yeah.
kidding. And then inside there's more little baggies and all these things to find all the little pieces. It's ridiculous. I mean, she
Yeah.
loves it because it's like
Oh,
opening
they
a present.
yeah.
You
Yep.
keep peeling back the layers or whatever. But man, it's
Huh.
annoying.
Yeah, no,
It's just so much trash. It's literally a pile of trash
I
this
just
big for a
pulled
toy
it
that
up.
big.
Oh,
So this
wow.
is it. On the
Oh, you got it on the computer?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the ball.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And there's a
Oh,
whole bunch of
that's
different sizes of them.
crazy.
So we're not promoting or
Wow.
bashing.
Oh,
by the way, we're just- you know, but it's these little dolls that look like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it.
So,
get
like
myself
you
in
say,
trouble.
part of the shtick is really the fact that they get to unpeel it. It's
Yeah,
fun
that's
to
the
unpeel it.
thing of it, you
Yeah,
know. So that's
yeah.
the fun part of it. For them,
Huh.
they like it, but
Huh.
you know, as a parent, I'm like, come
Really
on, like I gotta get
interesting.
rid of all this
Yeah.
stuff. You know, the dog gets it. It's like everywhere. The baby's got it.
Mm.
Stop it.
Right, right.
Where was I going to go with this though? I had
Mm.
something I wanted. It's
Mm.
okay. But so the website is good. I
Mm.
like the Recycle Smart
yeah.
website. I think it's very clean looking. It's very modern looking,
Mm.
which is nice. Obviously, it can use a couple tweaks.
Mm.
I had said this to you on the phone. I think really one of the bigger things, if you could have it on like the splash page, is like
yeah.
a quickly viewable list of like, here's all the things that are acceptable, so you don't have to go search, and then like an
Right.
image of all the good types of plastic containers. And you had mentioned like, what was it, 1, 2, and 5 are generally
Yes.
recyclable.
Yes.
So people could
Yeah.
quickly look like if it's a 1, 2, or 5, good, toss it in the bin, good to
Right.
go. Otherwise, into the trash you go
Right.
with that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, and just the keywords,
Mm.
you know, kind of clamping down on like what, or expanding rather on what.
Right.
you
On what
can-
people would call something.
Yeah, because I
right?
mean, what do you call it? I
Yeah.
mean, I was typing. I
Yeah.
was playing around the other night, and I was typing in like breadcrumbs, and
Mm.
it wasn't coming up at all with that
Mm.
container that we had found.
Hmm.
So it was like, all right, well, what do I call it then? What in
Yeah.
the world would I call this? You know,
Right.
you know.
right.
There we did. I forget how, but we did find.
cardboard cardboard can maybe.
Yeah, I forget
Sounds
what it was
crazy.
exactly. You know, you're on the website, right, Ray Sam?
Yeah.
Go through. Let's play around with it because it's a nice
Mm.
website. It's very clean. I like it. Like I said, I think it's a well done website, and clearly the intent is awesome.
Right.
You know, you're trying to help people recycle and be smarter about it.
Mhm.
But yeah, just some of those keywords, I think really is just like that'll really
Yes.
help
Do
it.
you want
And
me
then
to
like
do
a splash that
breadcrumbs
just
right
shows you the, you know, so you don't even have to go search like these are good. You know, if
Right.
you've got one of these, you're good to go.
Hmm.
You know, and then you don't have to go searching for like
that's
this
good.
type of tomato.
Could Be
Right.
part of the picture in the background.
Yeah,
there, too.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be part of the picture in the background, the splash
Yeah.
screen. You know, just so that they can
Bread.
see that stuff.
See what happens.
Hmm.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's show the website. And the website, by the way, is recyclesmartma.org.
Yes.
This is the one we showed with Don McPartland, and this was created by DEP
yeah.
through a pretty large effort to create this. And clearly, you spent some time on it because it's a
Yeah.
good-looking website. Very.
So-
Does it scale? I didn't even try it on a cell phone or anything like that. Does it scale on a phone?
Hmm.
Do we know?
I think
Yeah.
you can view it on a mobile
Yeah.
device.
Can you move
Yeah.
it? View it mobile? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
That's
That's obviously a big component
Yeah.
nowadays. Should be viewable. Type in. You're on the search. Yeah. Type in breadcrumbs.
Bread.
You typed in. You got bread.
I got bread. Yes.
Okay. Bread is not recyclable. Actually, no. I'm sorry. It is. Give it to your chickens, or
You
you know,
can- you can
throw it in the garden.
Compost it,
Compost
yeah.
it. Right there you go. Right.
Yeah, I like how it mentions what things are compostable
Mm.
as well.
Yeah. That is good.
So
That's one of my projects for this weekend is to build a
Mhm.
compost bin. I have
That's
all this.
excellent.
Great.
Yeah, I have all this stuff that I've been trying to get to it, and I have so many other projects going on that I haven't been able to. But
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's breadcrumbs that like is it the container specific?
it was the container, yeah. But it's a
Okay.
breadcrumb container. Like they all come in a very similar type container.
Is it like a metal
Say for
container?
Metal
like
on the
Pringles?
bottom,
It's 3
cardboard in the
materials.
middle, and a plastic lid.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's actually a metal
Oh.
ring usually at the top that
Yeah.
the plastic lid fits onto
Right,
too. So it makes it that
right.
much more difficult to.
Let me put in like chip can.
Oh yeah,
see.
that's too.
Mm.
Yep. That's kind of like an idea of a Pringle can in a
Yeah.
sense. Here I am plugging all of these brands, you know.
Honestly,
Yes, by the way, we do not endorse any of the brands that we're mentioning. We're literally just showing them as a
very-
informational purposes, you know, altogether. So
brand heavy, non-sponsored content.
Mm.
Friday wrap
make
up.
your checks payable too.
I see like food can lid metal.
Yeah, try that.
All
There you
right.
go. Let's
Yeah,
see if
that
that's the right
seems-
one. Okay, so that's no, that's
No,
not it.
that's
no,
metal.
this is
Not
the
Put in cardboard can. It sounds, counterintuitive, but
Okay.
maybe that would come up.
yeah.
And this was where we had the frustration
Yeah.
in trying to figure out some of these items. Like, what do I call this dumb thing? You know, like,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, if you can't find it quickly, you're just going to pitch it
Yeah.
or throw it in the recycle bin, and it's going to end up getting dealt with.
Okay,
Right.
so
At
I
the other end,
found
so.
cardboard food canister.
Yeah.
Okay, try
that's
that.
it.
Uh,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yay!
Oh, this is the one.
That's
This is
the
the
one.
one.
Yeah.
So
All right.
it is trash.
Right.
Yes.
So making that more easily found, because I would never think to go, I'm going
Mm.
to type in cardboard food canister.
Hmm.
I would type in breadcrumb container or,
Right.
tomato
Mm.
box or something
Yeah.
like that.
Maybe,
Egg
maybe
carton.
Yeah.
I feel
You
like
know.
a good rule of thumb is to take the material that is like the most of it and see if
Mm.
it's like that way. Because like the other one was like, oh, metal container. This one is like cardboard food canister, and that
That's
whole
true.
thing in the middle.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so probably that's
type
the rule
in
of thumb.
type in tomato food container,
Okay.
or let's see what that comes up. Just type in food container. Let's see what comes up for that.
Yeah, that's a broad category.
It's
probably.
pretty. Yeah, that's why I was kind of wondering.
All right. So I think it's about to ask me or do you want to be a little bit more specific here? So they have the plastic single serve, the PET food bag,
Okay.
the food can that's metal. You have the takeout containers that are paper, and the takeout containers that are plastic.
Okay.
So those are good because
Yeah.
sometimes if you order like a soup or something like that, that's what comes with it. I'm like,
Some of
what
those
do I do?
some of those containers have black bottoms though.
That is
We
true.
have one just from the other day has a
That
black
is
bottom.
true. So there's also food scraps, frozen food packages, deli and fruit containers, and
Try deli and fruit containers.
wood fruit.
That's the one I would think would be.
Okay.
Where else?
So yeah,
and that
these
is the
ones.
packaging. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So this one is for recycling bin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good to go. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I
Yeah.
guess tightening up on the keywords.
Oh,
you know,
and
making
Yeah.
it's
sure
also cool that it gives you instructions too. So it's also saying like rinse or wipe the all food and all the residue as well.
Right. Right.
Oh yeah, I see.
So just to keep plugging the brands, plug
Bring it in.
plug in their Pringles can. It won't come up as Pringles can, but it should come up as the cardboard canister. And I'm just saying that so that you can throw in some brand names of really common things and
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's still kind of giving me this thing here. However, it does say like cardboard food canister, Pringles or
Isn't
chips.
the
So
first
chips are
one.
right here.
yeah.
So yeah, it's saying
Interesting.
Yeah.
trashing in.
All right. So between the
So-
two of you and Donna, when she gets here, you're going to
Yeah.
save the world, correct? Yes. Am
Uh,
I
Like
wrong
to.
in this assumption? Okay.
Like to.
yes,
So,
yes.
awesome work on the website, the recyclesmartma.org. I think that's really
Right.
cool
Yeah.
and very handy, hopefully, for people
Yeah.
at home to use.
Well, awesome work to get the word out too, because that's the whole point. Is we want everyone in Massachusetts to go and use this tool from now on, and that way it's readily accessible. You know, most people are online these days, and then also any changes will be reflected in the tool as well.
Let's hope that the
So-
changes are good changes, like we're
Yeah.
adding things to recyclables
Yes,
and not taking
yeah.
away. Because that seems like that to us when we
Yeah.
did that show. That was the biggest
Yeah.
frustration. Like, wait a minute, these aren't recyclable anymore. Like, why?
Right.
Yeah,
why isn't this
no.
recyclable? What
Honestly,
happened?
I feel
I-
like
What was the deal?
20% of that stuff was like able to be like
Yeah.
done. Like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
even more of it, I would have gone, it's plastic, it's probably recyclable. And I would have chucked it in without even thinking that it wasn't recyclable for some
Yeah.
reason or another, because it's plastic or it's
Right.
whatever, paper or
Right.
something like that.
And I think we all feel that way because even those of us who work in the industry thinking certain things, either a pizza box that we couldn't throw in completely before, at least we thought we couldn't when we could have. And then with like milk cartons, at least in Eastern Mass, throwing those in. But those weren't being recycled properly. They were thrown in mixed paper. So going back to these bales that are being shipped across the world, milk is like sours, gets,
Oh, yeah.
So that, again,
I wouldn't want to open that container up
Ri-
after. Ooh.
yeah, and that rots those bales too, So,
Yeah.
so and not having, according to the MRFs, not having a high enough volume to be making it even break even enough to like ship to a market close by.
Really?
Interesting.
Interesting.
So that may change though, because the material itself from a milk carton's a pretty good material.
It's virgin paper, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pulp. It's made out of that virgin paper pulp. So, hopefully you just never know. That could come back online, and we'll be recycling them in a year or two. But the more important thing is to get the right stuff in there so that it's clean and it gets picked up at the corner, like at your curbside recycling, gets taken to a processing plant, and then everything that's in there is really going to be recycled. So we can kind of like mourn the fact that not as much as recyclable as we thought it was, but now we're doing it correctly, and we know that everything we're throwing in there is going to be recycled.
I think it's important to reiterate too that this has to be all of us that do this, because if
Right.
you throw in a bunch of contaminated stuff, you just ruined the whole truck basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So everybody who's worked their butt off to like clean and rinse and
Right.
so on, dry. If you don't do that, if you don't
Right.
follow through, you're better off not recycling at that
Yeah.
point.
Right,
If you're
yeah.
going to be lazy about it, I mean,
Yeah.
let's face it, there's people out there like that
Yeah.
that will do that, and Yeah, so
And
we
then
all
there's
have to do
an-
it together.
And on that note, too, is the buzzword, when in doubt, throw it out.
Mhm.
Always say that to yourself, too. So don't feel bad if you threw it out. Then you get to the recyclopedia later and you found out, oh, well, I could have recycled that. Next time, recycle it.
Mhm.
But it's always better to throw it out if you're in doubt, because if not, you might be throwing something in there that's going to have to get pulled out, and that's a problem later down the road. So
Let me ask you this. So they made this modern improvement on the milk containers, which I'm still kind of like on the fence about, where they added that little plastic pour spout.
yeah.
Has that hurt recyclability of that particular
No,
container?
No, I don't
No?
think so. No.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I tear them out.
Yeah.
After we did
Oh,
that show, I
wow.
started tearing out. Well, because it's plastic, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
so it's
true. Yeah.
mixing the
Right.
material. So I
But-
started ripping them out after we did that
Yeah.
show, because I'm like, well, hopefully at least they could recycle it now and not, because
But not really, because it's a carton still, and we can't recycle cartons.
well, I live up in New
Yeah.
Hampshire too, so
Oh,
I was
all
hoping
right.
anyway. I'm
Oh,
wishful
yeah.
thinking. You know,
Yeah.
kinda like
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they'll take
Yeah,
it.
you should check with
Huh.
I
them
don't know.
too, because
I should,
you know,
yeah.
because it's important. There are places that do recycle them. In fact, if you go up to the recyclopedia, you'll notice that in Western Mass they do recycle cartons. So that's one difference between even within one state.
Okay.
Because the materials recovery facility out in Springfield does recycle the cartons, so they have those cartons recycled.
Oh, okay.
So it could be that New Hampshire's recycling them, or it could be that they're not. So it's just best to know. And again, when in doubt, throw them out,
Mhm.
because it's...
The age-old saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one in a
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
if you really want to save the world, something
Yeah.
like a milk carton, there's an easy workaround. There's plenty of dairies in this area, and I won't say any brands, but we get dairy delivery to my house once a week
Shop on.
in refillable glass containers.
Yes, right. Yes.
And they,
yeah.
I put out the clean, empty ones, and they take them away,
And
and they
it's the
bring me back.
Best darn milk you've
It's
ever
so
had.
good. It's so good. My
That
kids
chocolate
love to
milk.
wave to Steven, who comes by and drops it off.
Funny
and-
story. My aunt used to get that back when I was little, and they lived upstairs from us, and I used to take their chocolate milk and disappear with it.
Yeah, 'cause it's great.
It came from a particular farm with 4 letters. It was very good, very creamy.
Eggnog at Christmas.
Yes, the eggnog at
Yeah.
Christmas. It was bad. It was very
Yeah.
bad. She never figured it out too, which was kind of funny. She'd just find the empty bottles, like, who took my chocolate milk?
Like, maybe we didn't deliver. You know?
Yeah, right.
And it's interesting, like, this is like real food, right? And it's got different packaging. It's just interesting. If you have a farm share, if you have any of these things, you don't need all that packaging, and it's the
Right.
best food.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the other
The most
Support a
holi-
local farm, and
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
do your produce shopping instead of shooting up to a grocery store. We have farms right here in town, or farms nearby. You could go do the bulk of your shopping at a farm stand, and then
Very
get
true.
what's left over, what you can't get
Right.
at a mainstream market, and
Yeah,
then
you go
you're
to your regular
supporting the
markets.
local economy right where you live.
Hmm. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, that's why we have chickens at my house, because we get the fresh eggs. We love the fresh eggs, and I'd have a bigger garden if I could. But you're right. You can get a lot of the stuff from places where you don't have to worry about packaging. I
Yeah.
thought it was hilarious. I think it was maybe a year or two ago. There was a supermarket that got called out amazingly. Like, they just got absolutely completely grilled because they took bananas, peeled the bananas, put them in a foam container, and then slapped some plastic around it.
Oh my
Literally
gosh.
repackaged bananas into a
Right.
foam container.
If only nature could
And-
provide the perfect package.
Okay, seriously, right? Well, that's the thing was as soon as somebody posted a picture, that everybody just jumped on it, and they quickly stopped doing that because,
Right.
like you just said, the perfect packaging, it's already in it. You know what I mean? It was wicked funny.
Right,
Like,
right,
what
right.
I won't even get into it. But
It's
what
like
person thought that was a
you're
good
putting
idea?
a hat on a hat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So quickly before we wrap up, Donna's gonna be here in a minute too, so we're gonna chat with her. The sustainability committee is looking for community members, to be part of the sustainability committee. Since we talked about it earlier in the show, let's kind of recap like what exactly the sustainability committee is and for, in the charter and so on and so forth.
Sure. So the Sustainability Committee is a brand new committee, citizens committee for the town of Tyngsborough. We are looking for 5 to 7 members, volunteer members for the committee. And if you're interested, if you have a passion for sustainability, for waste reduction, for energy efficiency, you should submit your letter of intent to Colin Loisel. And just a quick note for why you're interested in the committee and being a member of the committee. There's some information on the town website as well about what you're agreeing to and getting into. We don't yet know what the times that we'll meet. That was a question someone had asked, but we'll figure that out as soon as the committee members are appointed. And we're looking forward to working on issues in town, like a townwide composting facility, reducing recycling contamination, which I had a great conversation prior to the show with Julia. Different things that we can do to strengthen the programs that we already have in place and maybe implement some new ones. Like I love the swap event idea that you brought up, or something like a zero waste day that could really help residents to reduce the waste that they're creating and keep more of our valuable resources here in town.
Cool. Clearly, there's lots of things we can do. There's lots of effort, though, that needs to be put in order to make these things viable and have the staying power so that people will continue to do them. But it's nice to see that this has been started. So quick side note, if you want to watch this committee, once it does get fully up and running, we'll obviously be recording the meeting so you can kind of keep track of what's going on. But you're looking for members, so if you have any interest, you have a little bit of time, maybe you're recycling Ralph or a reuse, I don't know, female name with an R. I couldn't think that through all the way. But anyways, if you're one of those people, there you go. Reuse Rachel. There you go. Perfect. And you have some extra time and you want to give back to your community. This sounds like a good opportunity, actually. One, to get involved in like kind of town government stuff, but also two, to get involved in the sort of the recycle, reuse, that sort of the conservation of our natural habitats, which Tyngsborough is blessed with. We have tons and tons of really nice parks and trails and rivers and streams and lakes and ponds and so much stuff. It's not even funny. I don't know the exact numbers, but I'd argue we probably have more than most of the other towns around us. So we should have a little extra vested interest in some of these things, preserving them. So if you have some time, you can contact Colin Loisel in the town administrator's office. He's cloisel@tyngsborough.ma.gov. So you can send him an email if you'd like to be part of that. 5 to 7 members, you said?
5 to 7 members.
5 to 7. Okay, that's good. And when do you think you guys are going to get fully going?
I think Matt Hansen had said we would make it publicly available for 30 days to start and see how many, what the level of interest is in the committee, and then we'll go from there. Okay. And so you're going to also be working with like the Conservation Commission, I imagine. Yes. On some of these things. Our goal really is to have this be a committee that works in partnership with a lot of other committees in town. Okay. There's a lot of overlap with the Board of Health, with Conservation. Makes sense, yeah. If we do something like making sure recycling is available at our block party, if that's the rec department. So we really see this as a collaborative committee that helps in other areas, different things that the Board of Selectmen might like us to do. We really want to work in partnership with these other groups. Okay. I think I've always thought would be good to get going is getting restaurants involved in recycling, composting even, because they have tons of food waste. I mean, I worked in restaurants for years, and the amount of food waste is unbelievable. The fact that it could be fed to chickens or pigs or composted. And then on top of that, all the materials, the plastic containers and the pizza boxes and all that stuff that they end up just throwing in the regular trash, which then goes probably to the incinerator, could be recycled, reused, composted,
well, right now the state does have a waste ban on food waste for very large generators of a ton a week. They have to divert it. Really? Yes. So that's interesting. I did not know that's been put in place. A lot of it. So in the infrastructure that's being put into place is one of them is the Greater Lawrence Sanitary District has now a new digester. They're called anaerobic digesters. So the city of Cambridge right now has curbside pickup of food waste. Oh, okay. And their food waste gets sent to this anaerobic digester up in the Lawrence sanitary district. Is this one of these the bladders that they have in the ground where they put, it's almost like methane production, they put the stuff in? Yes. And it captures methane. Okay. And then it actually, it's not called compost, but it's called like something like a soil amendment. They actually sell it to farms, and they it goes on to, back into the soil. You make some awesome compost tea out of that. Yes, yeah, they do, wow. And forget Miracle-Gro. That stuff will really do your garden some good. Exactly. Yeah. And the nitrogen, so it's a great process, much better. Composting though too. So we have in the state of Massachusetts, there are a lot of new businesses coming online every day that are what we call industrial composters. You can get a subscription to them if you wanted. You pay a couple of dollars a week. I think you do that, right, Elizabeth? Yeah, I use Offbeat. They're local, actually a 100% women-run company. Okay. What is it exactly now? Offbeat Compost is the name of the business. Okay. Keziah Bascom. She's a local girl, and they pick up in Tyngsborough on Fridays, and it's very affordable. So they'll pick up your food scraps from your house? Yep, right from the house. Yeah. Wow. And I live in the city of Lynn, and I have a subscription with the Black Earth, which is another one of these large industrial composters. So some of them will just have a bucket like those Home Depot buckets. Here I am again plugging brands. But anyway.
It's okay. We know what you mean. 5-gallon buckets.
And
yeah.
then 5-gallon buckets, and then, or I have, with Black Earth, they gave, I got a cart. So it's a 17-gallon cart, and we fill it up once a week, and they pick it up every Wednesday.
Okay.
So, so this is this new whole industry that's growing, and it's growing outside of regulation too, because it's only the very big producers of food waste, those that produce a ton a week. Yet here we
That's
have
a
this
lot of food
whole
waste too, right?
industry that's started up just picking up residential.
Huh.
So we want that compost, and compost is a beautiful thing, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting, the ton a week thing, because that obviously wouldn't capture like all of your small shops. I
Right.
mean, that
No.
they're not going
Right.
to produce that much.
But
But-
some schools are impacted. Some of the larger school districts,
yes.
I could
if
see
they're
that, yeah.
generating a ton of food waste a week, they fall under this ban as
Yes.
well.
Really? Who
Yeah.
polices that? Does the state actually go in and
Yes,
check up? And
Mass DEP.
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
No,
okay.
the Department of Environmental Protection. But then the other thing is, we move along, they may lower that number, the tonnage number, to get the smaller producers. Eventually, we'd like to see the whole world, diverting food waste out of the
That's how we
waste
should be.
stream.
It's the only way we're
right?
going to save our
Yeah.
planet. All this.
Right,
We were talking
right.
earlier on the show about like the weather, and it's been kind of wacky, and like we didn't really get too deep into it, but like what's causing it. And I mean, clearly we have some impact. Obviously, the Earth does its thing too,
Yeah.
but we definitely have some impact. So if we can try to like minimize
Right.
what our impact is, I mean, we can't shut down all of our power generation and stuff tomorrow, but we can at least make our little dents with not sending the stuff into the recycle stream or
But
the
also,
trash
when you
stream. and-
use compost in your garden or in your yard or whatever, that soil holds more carbon. So you're actually doing something to stop climate change as well, because you want healthy soil. And especially with these really terrible rains that we have sometimes, that washes all the nutrients out of the soil. So using compost.
Has it rained much? I hadn't noticed.
So using compost, again, creates a healthier soil that holds more carbon. That's the whole point.
Okay.
So,
Side note on
Yeah.
your 5-gallon bucket thing, if you
Yeah.
find a local sandwich shop that buys their pickles by the bucket,
yeah.
you can usually buy those buckets reusing them for $1 a
Right.
piece.
Excellent.
A lot of them sell them for a
Great,
bucket, and they're super
great.
nice buckets. They're like
Yeah.
thick food grade. Anyways,
Yeah.
side note. All right, so
Yeah.
we've had a really good conversation, I think,
Yeah.
about this new sustainability committee, the website. Donna's here from the Board of Health, so I kind of want to get
Okay,
her take on
great.
some of these things as well. So, Liz, you are welcome to come back anytime. I am going to kick you out for now because I want to let Donna sit in, but
Yeah.
you are welcome to come back anytime. We
Awesome.
can talk more about the committee once you get to a point where you're ready, basically, and we can talk more about like some of the things that you'd like to do. Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I
Wonderful.
think people would enjoy
Thanks
that.
for
We
having
can-
me.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Happy to have you.
All right.
Thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to bring in Donna McPartland now from the Board of Health for her perspective on the whole recycling issues going on in Tyngsborough, the craziness that it is. Thank you again, Liz. Appreciate it. And Donna, you're going to have to step to the side. You're blocking my camera. Let's do that.
Sorry.
There we go.
That's
Thank you. She comes in here and ruins the whole thing.
Sorry.
I'm just joking.
I tried to get out of it.
Thanks again, Liz. So we're going to talk more about the recycling and kind of that stuff, the Board of Health perspective, because obviously you've been working with DEP or talking to them, and we've gone through that whole show about how we had problems finding items and finding out things weren't recyclable anymore. So I guess to start it off, what from the town perspective can we do, if anything? Is there really much we can do short of just waiting for guidance from DEP and others?
I think that right now, really, what we're doing what we can and trying to get the information out there that people need to look on the Smart Recycle and see, just a reminder, like what you might think is recyclable. I think also communicating, like, if as residents find out more information about what is and isn't recyclable, then talk to your neighbors if you see something going on. And what you're doing, every week, putting the information out there and reminding people, like, no bags and, yeah.
I think things like this, where we get the information, is the biggest, at least for us locally anyways, is to just get the information out there for folks. Where can you go find those resources to, we had a gentleman ask earlier, so we posted the link to the Recycle Smart website. Because, getting this information out there is hard, and getting them to change their, change like the put it away, throw it away clean, basically,
Right.
or recycle it clean. Cleaning the stuff and drying it and all that, that's going to be another key thing that we're going to have to really work hard on.
And
tell
change
people
is
about.
hard because people
Yeah.
get really mad when they,
Yeah.
figure out, like, they're trying really hard to do a good job and recycle everything. And then when you're talking to them and they're like, wait, what? Like
Right.
so, and Steve and I both have,
Mm.
put stuff in the recycle bin that, probably shouldn't have gone in there.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, right? It's
Mm.
just, you would think plastic, you just chuck it in, but
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
It's not now, unfortunately. So it probably hasn't ever been, but we've been
Right.
throwing it in there. Let me
And
ask you
the
this.
number. The number
Mm.
is the big thing that throws
Mm.
everybody off
Mm.
too, that
Mm.
they keep trying to go by the number.
Yeah,
Right,
that's true.
right.
That little triangle, that throws me a lot.
Mhm.
I used to. Now, obviously, I have a little more knowledge, but it used to
Mm.
throw me a lot. Let me ask you this, Julia. Maybe you know, if you are, so say I'm a Uber recycler, but I throw every bit of plastic in my recycle bin. What happens on the other end with my bin of stuff that I've thrown in? Do they trash the whole truck, or do they have to go through and pick out?
No. So what happens when it gets to one of these materials recovery facilities? They have a lot of people on those lines, and they're picking all that stuff out.
Okay.
So things like say they're throwing in their plastic forks and knives, and those are going to probably more than likely fall through the screens, and those are going to end up in the trash. So
Okay.
they're going to end up in the trash, but then they have to have more people picking through it in order, the dirtier it is. If
Mhm.
you have cleaner recycling going through those lines, they don't have to have as many people picking things out.
Okay.
But it's really manual. They actually just have all these people on the lines picking things out.
So I remember that from
recycling.
Casella. They did have a number
Yeah.
of folks, and actually, to your point, that makes
Mm.
sense that the cost would go up.
Yes.
The worse our recycling is, because they have to have more people there to pull out all the stuff
exactly.
that isn't actually recyclable. That's interesting. I
Right.
hadn't really thought about that until
Right.
just now.
And then they have to then they have the disposal cost of putting it into a big container and shipping it to an incinerator or a landfill.
Mhm.
Because it's trash basically too. So it's like a higher cost to do everything.
Okay.
So instead, just when you were confused about something, you might feel angry, but just forgive yourself, right? You didn't know, and
Clearly, yeah.
and then just continue doing the right thing. Now you clarified it. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't say, "Oh, I'm just not going to recycle anymore," because you feel like you're doing it wrong. We're all learning from what is recyclable and what isn't based on what happens. Like, who knew that China was going to all of a sudden say they don't want all the recycling that they were accepting for
Mhm.
years and years?
Mhm.
So now things had to change, and we had to clean it up. And if we clean it up, then it really does get recycled. And then we're not throwing in anything that doesn't get recycled, so we're going to save on those disposal costs, basically. So just, don't think about the culpability. We all, or sometimes we get angry about those things. Just let it roll off you, and then just begin to recycle correctly now that you have the information.
I unfortunately know one person who, because of all these changes, has refused to recycle anymore.
Yeah.
He's an older gentleman, so I kind of give him a little
Yeah.
slack. But yeah, it happens though. But
Yeah.
don't fall into that, because that's not going to
Right.
help anything. Do you find, you can both chime in on this if you will. Do you find that like the trash collection companies have been receptive, or is there even an issue that they just kind of do what they're told? Like, is there any issues there
Yeah.
as far as getting the companies online
A
to?
lot of the companies are both haulers, they are the collection people, and
Mhm.
then they own the materials recovery facility, so they do care about it being clean.
Okay.
So now a lot of the haulers will reject at the curbside too. But a lot of times, and I think Tyngsborough has a system where your cart system and it's closed. So the hauler really can't see inside that cart.
Mhm.
Sometimes if the lid is open and it's obvious that there's trash in there, they're going to reject that.
Okay.
But a lot of times they can't see it. But when they see it, they'll reject it because they don't want the trash going to the recovery
Makes sense,
Our
yeah.
recovery
recycle-
facility.
The recycle bins don't need to be closed. The lid doesn't need to, the trash toter lid needs to be
Yeah.
closed.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's hard when you see, and you drive it around and you see that, the bin is open, which is okay, but when it's stuffed with all these recyclables, this good stuff, and they're all
Yeah.
in bags,
Right.
and
It's just, yeah.
So let me ask you this, Donna. Do we get good compliance in town? Like, how does our town stack up as far as, doing it properly?
I haven't had, I think that we're getting the word out about the bags, and I think it's getting better.
Okay.
I personally have seen, a lot of repeat offenders,
Mhm.
but I think that
Wagging my finger at you guys.
Oh,
Not you.
I do think that some of it's getting picked up anyways. So people, those are the people that aren't learning,
Okay.
But I know we also have a few people in town that are driving around and they're whistleblowers, so.
Okay.
Um,
So don't do it or you'll get
yeah,
caught.
right, yeah.
We're watching
yeah.
you.
I've received photos and
Yeah.
everything, so.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's good. It's good that most. I mean, if you're only having a few repeat offenders, then at least it's easy enough to like go after them and get
Yeah.
that figured out.
And I
But-
will
Yeah.
I will forward the photos along to
Mhm.
Republic and let them know
Okay.
that this has been a problem and it's getting picked up and it shouldn't be. So
Okay. So I asked that sort of not really knowing what if they just continue to do, but it's interesting to know that they'll actually like, sorry, we're not going to take your trash this week or your recycles because it's full of trash.
Before all of the changes happened, some of the hauling contracts said we want you to pick it up no matter what.
Oh,
so
really? Okay.
so they were picking it up even though it was dirty, because that was in the contract. So but now it's changed where it's costing cities and towns so much money if they have contaminated recycling that it's clear that the haulers don't want it at their processing plants and the cities and towns don't want to be paying for dirty recycling. So.
Interesting. Well, it makes
Yeah.
makes sense because it ruins the batch, and then
Yes.
there goes the market, and then
Yeah.
the Chinas of the world
And the
stop
cost
taking
gets
our
sent
stuff.
back to the city and town too. So
Oh, okay.
so when people are, if you're doing it on purpose, if you are one of these bad actors where you're just throwing trash in your recycling, just look at that as well. You're in the end, the cost is being passed on to you because you're a taxpayer in the town of Tyngsborough. And
That's
they
an
have
interesting
to pay
point.
for
Yeah.
the dirty recycling. So it's just your cost is going up in the end.
Donna, maybe do you
So-
know this? Maybe I guess when they estimate what it's going to cost us for trash and recycle pickup, what ends up being the difference at the end of the year because of this? Because of these
I
issues.
haven't seen that, so I don't
Okay.
really know. I don't know how that works with the
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to talk to Matt, I would think,
Okay.
maybe about that. I don't know if he
If
sees
if
that.
we
But
can
when I
find
get
that out,
the
that would be an interesting tidbit, just to
Yeah.
know what the overage is on our costs,
Yes.
because then you could really show people like, hey, listen, we had to pay an extra 10 grand or whatever. I'm throwing numbers out, but
Right.
because of bad actors in recycling, because they had to clean it
Exactly.
extra.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because then you could
Yeah.
really quantify, like, my problem, my being lazy is causing a problem, and
Yeah.
and your taxes are just getting thrown away basically at that point because you're paying extra. Interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you might think you're getting away with anything with something, but you're really just pulling the wool over your own eyes. So.
I mean, I think too, for a lot of us, you throw it in the bin and you just expect it to go away, and you'd think nothing of it after that point. But we can't think like that anymore. We have to
Right.
think 2, 3, 5, 10 steps down the road because it's our planet. It's ending up in the oceans and
Yes.
wherever else. So
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I'm running out of questions. I think we've covered a lot. We've actually really covered a lot in
I
this
was trying to
episode.
watch it, but then I had some customers come in, so
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I hope
You were
don't-
actually busy, weren't you?
I actually, yeah.
She's
so-
always busy, by the way. I'm only
yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
For any questions, if you have suggestions, where should they go to send suggestions for the
They
Recycle Smart?
right on the website.
Okay.
Then you can click on contact us, and then you can, or I think there's something that says if you
That's not
didn't
it.
find it.
Okay.
That.
Want to find that
yeah.
contact page, Kaylee?
Yeah.
So the website, though, is recyclesmartma.org. Very handy. You can type
Yeah.
in keywords, and it'll give you what you should do with that particular item. You're still obviously tweaking and working to make it better, but hopefully things
Right.
like this help
Right.
get some of those.
And send us in what you don't find because they'll put it in.
Is
Okay.
this what you're
So.
looking for? I don't know.
There was a contact us page. So this is the website. But so if you
Yeah.
have a suggestion as far as items that should be added, you could send it in through that contact page. Very helpful, though. I want to thank too again Liz.
Yeah.
She's not here anymore, but Liz for coming in too and talking about the new sustainability committee. I think between the three of you, I mean, really, you can really make a big dent. That's sounds like a great committee that'll be doing some really good work. And then on top of that, obviously, you have the Board of Health working and the state working to help try to find something to do with all this stuff, all those
Right,
materials. Because I mean, it's
right.
not going to stop tomorrow.
Right.
We can't stop buying stuff. We're still going to buy materials and things. So, but it's cool to have this stuff. Let's become a partner. Yeah. anyways, it's a good website. Go check the website out. You'll find the contact us.
You know what I'll do is I'll find it and send it to you, and
Okay.
you can put that up on Facebook as
Okay.
to like where it may be in the recyclopedia part when you're checking for an item, and if you can't find it, you can click on something on that page that says, you know,
When you were looking earlier,
Yeah.
were you guys finding things that weren't showing up?
We were searching for the things that we had issues with,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
breadcrumb container,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
doesn't. It showed up under. What did we have to search for? I forget what the
cardboard
saying about that?
can. Cardboard can. I think it
cardboard
was,
can was it? Yeah. So we
yeah.
had to search for some different things, but they're going to
Right.
hopefully add some of that stuff so that it'll show up. I mean, it's just
Right.
keywords at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that'll make it
Yeah.
easier, but it is handy for sure. It's
Yes.
definitely handy.
Mm.
Donna, have you had any other issues with trash and pickups have been pretty good and everything?
Yeah, things have been
last
pretty
bunch of days?
good. We've had a few misses, but it's not really, it hasn't been a big deal.
Mhm.
And they go back and pick it up if they've missed it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, do you know if they get, I guess Republic gets in trouble if they miss a property, right?
Mm.
So, do they get in trouble if they, or some kind of a penalty or fine? I don't know how it works, but if they go back and pick it up, but if there was a problem, or if somebody, if they do pick it up and it was contaminated, like, is
Mm.
there an issue with
Well,
the drivers? Like, do they
yeah.
get in trouble for that?
It's hard because if the card is closed and they can't see it, but if it's
Yeah.
obvious, then, it all depends what's in your contract with the hauler
Yeah.
too.
Mm.
So getting clear about that, but again, usually they want to work with you too. So,
Mhm.
but sometimes it's talking to the particular driver. It's just like an individual resident who really doesn't want to recycle and just throws trash in. The same with the driver. Like, it's important to not pick that up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so there's all different cases as to why
Yeah,
it's happening,
yeah.
and figuring out what it is and then addressing it, I guess.
We've been pretty lucky, though. There's a new residential
Mm.
supervisor that we've been working with, and
Yeah.
things seem to be going much more smoothly, and
Excellent.
a lot less complaints from residents and
Excellent.
stuff like
Oh,
that.
good.
So
That's
that's
good.
been great. Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
The less
a
complaints,
lot
the
of
better.
communication, so it's
Yes.
been good.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. It's
All
been
right.
a long show. We're going on 2 hours now.
Ah,
Sorry.
It's been a very long. My butt's getting sore
Wow.
from sitting on this chair.
yeah.
It's probably TMI, right? So recyclesmartma.org. Go check that website out. You can get all the information.
Mm.
Don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff on our social pages, because it helps us get around all the Facebook algorithms. And it also gets it out to the rest of the community so that they can see this stuff, because clearly this is important stuff. Without everybody at home's help, this is moot, really. I mean, there's nothing, without you guys at home actually recycling properly,
Yeah.
Mhm.
there's nothing we can't make it happen
Right.
as 3 people. So it takes the whole community, takes a village, right?
Yes.
That's the
Mhm.
expression. Takes a
Yeah.
village. So do the best you can with recycling properly. Look into the new guidelines. Definitely use the website. That'll really help. Any questions, you can obviously always contact Donna McPartland at the Board of Health. She'll be happy to answer those questions. I'm sure you could reach out to Julia as well if you needed to. She's over at DEP, so I'll let you research where to get that contact
Yes.
info from.
Yeah.
Probably on the website though.
Yeah.
The website is really good though. I like
Right.
it's definitely the bones of it fantastic. The idea of it's great. Just
Yeah.
needs a little tweaking, but otherwise it was pretty
Mhm.
good. I mean, we didn't
Yeah.
have that much trouble finding most everything we
Right.
needed. So
Right.
it's
Good.
overall it's a very good website.
Yeah.
I think, and very helpful and useful. So yeah. Any questions? Ask Brogan at Tyngsborough.gov. I'm always happy to answer those, get them answered for you if I can. Don't forget, all the places you can watch is Facebook, YouTube, Tyngsborough.gov, and Comcast 8 and Verizon 29. We will be back on Monday with the news. So that's all I got for you. Let's one more time just show the weather. Sorry, it's terrible. Actually, the weekend's good. So here we go. Here's the weather for the weekend. The weekend's actually really nice. So get out there, enjoy the sun, because it's going to go away quickly and never show its face again. I think that's at this point anyways. It's brutal. Thanks to everybody else. Kaylee, James, Ray, Sam, all of my guests who came on today, Donna, Julia, and Liz, for all coming on and talking about all their various subjects. And hopefully you guys get some good info out of this thing. With all that said, guys, have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Get out there, enjoy some of that sun, and we will see you guys on Monday. Take it easy. Bye.
Right.